Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
100%. Ready to go. It's been a long time coming, and I just can't wait to be out there.
That's why we play football in the SEC, trying to go get it done.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
So I'm not going to say that we're ignoring a big topic, OB, excuse me, but I think there is a topic that is about Arkansas that is kind of a little bit lower on the totem pole than maybe it should be, just when you think about storylines. Let's talk about storylines about this game. When you think about A&M versus Arkansas, what are one of the big storylines or talking points when it comes to the Arkansas perspective?
Well, if you're from Arkansas, I think you're thinking about how often that you fail to win against A&M. I think
that's one for sure.
They're 1-10 or something like that, 1-11 against A&M since the SEC. So I think that's a huge storyline for Arkansas. Plus, you know, their coach is very embattled.
Yep.
And he needs every win to keep the Wolves away from the door.
But when we talk about how Arkansas will attack A&M, I think a couple things come up.
Yeah, Bobby Petrino.
Yeah. Taylor Green.
But
there's another gentleman on that roster that has some excellent numbers. His name is Jaquindon Jackson.
Yeah.
And if you look at these numbers, I got it here. He's averaging 6.8 yards per carry with 8 touchdowns. 472 yards on the year.
Yeah.
Only one game this season he has not had 100 yards. That was against Auburn, but he did have 2 scores against Auburn. I'm looking at some of these numbers. He rushed for 101 against Pine Bluff on 8 carries.
8 carries.
Okay. You might have been able to get 79 against Pine Bluff, but that's fine. Against Oklahoma State, he was a horse. 149 yards, and he also had, I believe, a touchdown in that game. He had 3 touchdowns, excuse me. 3 touchdowns. Against UAB, 15 carries, 147 yards per carry. Again, and as I mentioned, against Auburn, he had 22 carries, 75 yards. This is a guy that... Texas kid, yeah. We've seen right down the road. When you think about what he does for that offense, it starts with Taylor Green, but he opens everything up for Taylor Green, in my opinion.
Well, you got to have both. And what we've seen, what a good running game will do for a freshman quarterback, Marcel Reed. So absolutely, that is an invaluable thing, is to have a running back that can be productive. He had like 797 yards last year at Utah. He was Utah's leading rusher. Went to Texas originally as a quarterback. And transferred to Utah, played quarterback this first year there, moved him to running back, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to him. Yeah,
he's a dynamic player. It's TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. I don't have the stats in front of me, but A&M's rush defense is about middle of the pack when it comes to college football. But something, as Coach Elko pointed out yesterday, when they focus on it, they seem to have improved that part.
Oh, yeah, they have. I mean, if you look at the last couple of games, they've held their opponent under 100 yards rushing. So that's extremely encouraging. Is that something that's going to continue? Probably. I don't know that they're going to keep everybody under 100, but I think you're going to see
but you think they'll be
solid run defense from now on.
Middle of the pack?
No. I think they're going to continue.
Higher third?
I think, what are they right now, like 60th or something like that? And I think you'll see them continue to improve in that category. Hopefully we'll see them improve in the pass defense category as well. That's a little bit more dicey.
That's the interesting part for me is this year's – the defense has not been bad. Please don't mistake what I'm saying. I just thought they'd be more dominant than they've been so far. But they're starting to trend in that direction in certain areas.
In certain areas. Look, we talked about it yesterday. You brought it up. A&M's biggest problem defensively is that tendency to give up the big play, whether it be busted coverage, missing a fit, whatever. if you can tighten the screws on those areas, then you may have that
good.
dominant defense. But they haven't tightened those screws.
Right.
They're still giving up a 40-yard run for a touchdown on a reverse or a 65-yard touchdown on a busted coverage. So, again, and that's a big if now because you're a third of the way through the season, if you can get to a point where you're not giving up the big plays, then yes, this is a strong defense. We're still not seeing the pass rush at the level we projected to.
Right.
But part of that is because opponents are just getting rid of the ball fast.
They are getting rid of the ball fast. I think that's part of it. One of the things Coach Elko said yesterday was that they'll make the right call early in the game, and then they'll have a breakdown later. They won't communicate correctly, and that's what leads to those big plays.
And you're a third of the way through the season.
Yeah.
Why is that an issue now? But right, he was talking about the touchdown pass to Harold Fannin that went for 65 yards. They had run a similar play earlier in the game. They called the coverages correctly, and it was defended, no problem. Called the coverage incorrectly later in the game, it's a 65-yard touchdown. You got to get that fixed.
They have to get that fixed. That's some of the talking points from yesterday. Let's hear from Coach Elko yesterday on some of the mistakes that they're trying to fix the rest of the way.
If it was that easy, it would probably already have been fixed. You know, it's still just it all boils down to consistency, right? And that's a coach speak answer to some degree, but I don't think there's the same glaring issue that shows up every single week, right? And so to that degree, I think there's progress, and we're showing progress, and we are improving, but there are holes that continue to show up in different areas. And so to me, I think it's just the consistent focus to do what we're supposed to do every snap. And it's
the consistent focus to do what you're supposed to do on every snap. That's where some of the breakdowns have been. It's been a consistent effort, just maybe not that consistent focus.
Yeah, I do wonder, and I don't know this, and even if we asked him, he probably wouldn't shed any light on it. But I do wonder if the communication issues occur with a different personnel out there, right? So like maybe on that first pass that they said they had it well covered, you had different guys in there than you did. But regardless if it's out there, you got to make the calls.
You got to make the plays.
And I would assume it's just harder to be consistently consistent if you have different guys in all the time, or not all the time, but shuffling in guys like you do on defense.
Just talking here. I'm not pointing anything out that's necessarily like this. Just having a conversation. Teams like Bowling Green, teams like McNeese are willing to take some chances that maybe Arkansas would not take. Maybe some reverses you wouldn't expect. Maybe some onside kicks you wouldn't expect. And I'm not saying that that's why the game was close. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying desperate teams do desperate things.
Yeah, I think you're in a situation where you're not supposed to win, and it's not going to have an effect on your conference race. Why not be a little more creative?
Right.
But from what I understand, that's kind of who Bowling Green is, and they're going to do some things, and so that you have to be ready for it. What I'm concerned about though is, as good as Bowling Green is, and they're a good football team, but as you pointed out last week, that's the team you should beat. Now you're getting into SEC play. The rest of your games, except for one, are SEC opponents. You might get away with some of the mistakes you made, and it might not hurt you as much. But I guarantee you, Arkansas is looking at some of the problems A&M had, and with a mobile quarterback like they have, and A&M giving up the edge more often than they should, and then the receivers like Armstrong and Satania, who was once committed here.
Committed A&M, yeah.
They got some big play guys that can, they can hurt you if you have those busts.
So Auburn, not as good of a defense as A&M. You'd agree with that?
Yes.
I think it is interesting that Arkansas did struggle a little bit.
A little bit, they did.
But they found their way. And at the end of the day, it's about 4 quarters, not about 3 quarters, right? It's about 4. But Arkansas struggled. And I would say if you look at Jaquindon Jackson's numbers in that game, 75 yards, I mean.
Solid game.
Solid game. But not what he was doing against some of the others. Well, I mean, if A&M gives up 75 yards to Jaquindon Jackson, hopefully not the 2 scores, I think you have a good chance of winning.
I agree. I think anytime you hold your opponents leading rusher to less than 100 yards, less than 80 yards, you're doing a heck of a job. I do think A&M's defense is probably better than Auburn's. I don't know how much better, but I do think they're probably better than Auburn.
I bet you believe in the defensive coordinator more too.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
We put Callie over there to run the defense, and I think I would have more faith than DJ smirking.
Well, no, I thought DJ had a nice year last year, but overall I was underwhelmed. But I know where you're coming from on that. Let's hear a little bit more from Coach Oko yesterday talking about Marcel Reed, because when you watch the film, it's interesting. And in fact, when I asked the question yesterday, he's like, if you look at his numbers, you'll hear it here in a second. They're basically what you saw the week prior, but it didn't feel as good, right? Yeah. And it's because what you always talk about, what your eyes are telling you. Mm-hmm. That being said, I asked about, what are some things that are maybe popping up that we don't see? Here's Coach Elko yesterday.
Yeah, I think the one thing I want to say I just think is so ironic, if you look at his stat line between the two games, they're almost identical. I think the difference in total yards between the Florida game and the Bowling Green game was 1 yard. And so I think, it's funny what expectations do, and it's funny what people think when they just, they hear Bowling Green, so they anticipate a certain type of thing because of it. And so I think he's still, he's got a big arm. He's got tremendous athleticism. I still think there's some progressions, reads, checks that he's still working through. I think those things have made tremendous strides from spring ball through fall camp, through playing against McNeese, Florida last week.
Talked a little bit about the progressions that he still needs to do better on that, but he is making progress each week. And if you look back from the McNeese day to now, there's been some progress, and they're gonna need him this year. And if that means Arkansas, if that means later on, he's going to play a part in the season. He's already playing a part, but he's going to continue playing a part in the season story.
Absolutely. I mean, if you didn't expect there to be growing pains for a kid that's in his second season, who just made his second start of his career, you're just fooling yourself, or you're just being unfair. That said, the numbers were very similar in total yardage, but I think he was 11 of 17 against Florida and something like 16 of 29. So there was more incompletions, more missed opportunities. He ran well. I don't know if he ran as well as he is Florida, but I think you have to really ask yourself, and I'm not always looking for excuses, but I do think you have to ask yourself, does Bowling Green have a better defense than Florida? I don't think they have better personnel than Florida.
But they play better together.
But they may have a better scheme, better coaching, and so that may be the case. But no question, Marcel has to continue to get better and go through his progressions and find the right guy and then get him the ball.
Can I talk about Hugh Freeze for a second?
Yeah, please do.
I don't like him. Okay. I don't like his style. I don't like him. I hope A&M goes and destroys them by 50 points. Lane Kiffin, who I have my issues with, when he's not talking about A&M, I like Lane Kiffin, right? And yesterday, his subtle jab, did you hear his comment?
No, what did he say?
He didn't actually call out Hugh Freeze, but he talked about Matt Corral. He talks about why people like to come to Ole Miss and play for him, and he's because they know I got their back. He goes, Matt Corral had a game with 6 interceptions, and afterwards,
I think it was against Arkansas.
And he's like, afterwards, I was talking about I got to coach better. And I told him it's my fault, not your fault. And it was basically his way, because I don't know if you've seen Hugh Freeze's comments. I just hit me. But basically, he called out they got to play better. The quarterback has to be better. They have to turn the ball over less. He also said yesterday, if we play Arkansas 10 times, we beat them 9 times, even though they just lost.
Well, maybe he feels that way. Personally,
shut up, bro.
Yeah, but you know what? I personally didn't have a big issue with what he said. Their quarterbacks have been playing terrible, have been throwing interceptions. Now, Thorne came in and had an interception. Wasn't his fault. I watched it. He hit a receiver in the hands that went off his hands. But the other guy, Brown?
Yeah.
Hank Brown. He was horrible. And he was. And there's no other. So he didn't go out and say, this guy sucks and I don't know why I recruited him. But he said, hey, we got to play better. We got to throw it to our guys.
You can say that without making your quarterback feel like he's 2 feet tall. You can say that to the media telling, we lost because of our quarterback. And that's where I have a problem with it. Hey, we've got to protect the ball better, but I also got to put these players in better positions. Not, I put the players in the right position, they just suck. That's how I take it.
Okay, I just didn't have I didn't have much of a reaction to that, especially in this day of NIL.
Yeah. All right, let's. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do that multiple ways. You can call us on the Boss Firearms Hotline, 979-693-1150. You can text us as well. Let's go around the room. Say hi to the people behind the glasses. Nick Savage. Nick, good morning.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
Hey, buddy.
I just want to ask y'all your opinion. You know, if you look at the offensive numbers, and I'll put them up here. I don't know how well y'all can see them sitting over there, but obviously Arkansas averaging about 41 points a game. The yardage per game offensively is impressive. But if you look at that schedule, again, they played Oklahoma State, they've played Auburn, but they ran up the score on Pine Bluff. They struggled at first with UAB, but then pulled away. So how much stock are y'all really putting in? Like, you know, I feel like we've been kind of talking like this is a better Arkansas team than we've seen in a few years. But how much of that are we looking at the numbers from, you know, the Pine Bluff game or something like that, and maybe pumping them up a little bit more than they should be? I'm just curious to what y'all think about that.
Nick, put those graphics back up if you don't mind, because Arkansas offensively, OB, everything is significantly better than A&M. And by the way, that's because they're a better offensive team than A&M. I don't know how much of it is the schedule.
A lot of it.
Well, but I don't know if A&M plays those teams if they're scoring 40 points a game is, I guess, my question. I don't know. But I do know, let me rephrase this. I don't think Arkansas has faced a defense with the potential that A&M has.
I'll agree with that 100%. I will tell you that Oklahoma State's defense is not in the same neighborhood as A&M's. Pine Bluff sure isn't. Maybe Auburn is.
Maybe.
And UAB isn't. So, but how many points did A&M score against Oklahoma State in the bowl game last year?
In the 30s, sound right, Nick, Callie? Somebody?
I can't remember, but
in the 30s.
It seems like they moved the ball pretty well. And Marcel just being thrown into action, threw for almost 400 yards and ran for a touchdown.
Yep.
So
23, excuse me. I was not in the 30s. Okay, 23 points.
So I would think that if they played this year when A&M have an actual, a quarterback that has.
I need to see more from our offense.
Yeah, that's true.
Got to see more from the offense.
But I'm not.
But I don't. But as long as it feels like Florida, and not the beatdown that Florida felt like, but that step. If we can take another step offensively, also defensively, but take another step offensively, I'm going to start feeling by the time we get to Missouri, by the time we get to LSU, by the time we get to Texas, it's a more refined product. I just hope that we're not having these same discussions about, the offense is stuck in the mud all year long. And after a third of the season, you start seeing trends that become the reality.
I just hope I hope A&M can get to 30 points. I think that's.
If they score 30 a game,
I feel like they're winning.
Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Callie Garner is still there. Hello, Callie. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning. How's it going? Cheerio.
What's up?
I've got a lot riding on the line this weekend. My cousin, who's the exact same age as me, went to Arkansas. Oh. So we've got that bit of a family rivalry going.
How does that happen?
She's from Lubbock.
Oh, yeah.
So she didn't go to Tech. So
this is true. Okay.
It's a little better. But she's not very into sports. But having the rivalry with us kind of makes her enjoy it more. But I always get way too competitive when it comes to playing Arkansas.
I know this side of you. Well, I don't know about the Arkansas side, but I do know you get competitive. I hear you're great at fantasy sports.
Ooh, I lost this week for the first time. But it's okay. If I started 3-0, I would have had way too big of a head.
And how's Prize Picks going for you?
I had to take a break.
You had to take a break. You're just doing too much?
Yeah. Kay Nagley hasn't taken a break, though. She's lost a few. But I had to take a break.
What do you have for us?
We had a little bit of basketball news announced yesterday. The SEC and ACC men's basketball game against Wake Forest was announced that it will tip off at 8 p.m. and is going to be streamed on ESPN2. And the women's ACC-SEC challenge against Syracuse will also take place at Reed Arena on December 4th, and it will tip off at 6:15 on ESPNU. All
right, Callie, thank you very much. Let's talk a little Prize Picks back to what you were talking about a moment ago. I made some money this weekend. You can make some money with Prize Picks as well. Go to prizepicks.com/TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs to receive $50 once you play $5 lineups, right? So you'll get the $50. Boom, you get to make it happen, right? You already have the money for it. Look at that money. You've been making some Prize Picks money, baby. I should never call a man baby. Prize Picks is the largestly independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. The easiest, most exciting way to play DFS is you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of players, including the pros and the sharks, you pick more than or less than 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winning rules. As you know, I've been telling you all month long, every time Caleb Williams passes for at least a yard on a Sunday, you're going to get yourself a win. So if you pick Caleb Williams, all you need him to do is throw for 1 yard, and you're going to win. That's 4 weeks of free W's in September. PrizePicks.com/TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs to receive those $50 once you play in $5 lineups. It's PrizePicks. Are you looking at a little sister?
I've known some little sisters. I'd never had one. I had an older sister.
TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
My older sister, Kathy.
Rollo Insurance Studio. Hey, Apple TV app is out.
Did you have an older sister?
Nope.
No. You an only child?
Nope. Two brothers.
Two brothers.
Yeah, 2 brothers. You heard about the Apple TV app?
No.
Yeah, it came out. We're proud to announce the launch of the TexAgs TV app for your Apple TV. It'll allow premium and varsity subscribers to view all of their favorite TexAgs media content on their televisions, from daily broadcasts of the show and the Luchador, post-game wraps, press conferences, TexAgs special features. If you've seen it or heard it on TexAgs.com, you'll be able to find it on the app. So make sure if you've got Apple TV, you download the app. A lot of knocking on this table for some reason. Obi, let's do performance of the week.
Okay.
I'm going to allow you the first one, but I'm going to give you a hint of which direction to go. Okay?
All right.
I think you wrote about this young man.
Oh, Thor?
Thor.
Yeah, he made a heck of a catch.
Yeah.
I think it was the only pass targeted to him.
I believe that's correct.
And he was covered, but it was a good pass. But hey, he came down with it. It was a big touchdown. So yeah, that's definitely would be one.
Thor was great. He was absolutely great. Let's. I'm going to give you another one. You just pick another guy.
Randy Bond.
Randy, your word is your bond. Let's go.
Randy Bond. I mean, yeah, you don't want to have to settle for field goals, but when you do, you want your guy to make them. You need your guy to make them, and they certainly needed it from Randy Bond. He went 4 for 4, so there's 12 points, 2 field goals, 14 points in a game that was decided by 6.
Yep.
Randy Bond was huge.
He was great. And here's the thing. Even if he hadn't struggled the week prior, he would have been on. When you go 4 for 4 in a close game, those field goals matter, right? And it seems to be when the field goals matter, he's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, he's been really good except for those last 2 against Florida. But other than that, this year, he's been 100% except for those last 2.
So I'm going to give you one more to give to me, but I'm going to lead you in a direction. Okay. I want a wide receiver that gets tough yards.
So, Ja'Day Walker.
Ja'Day Walker, there it is.
We talked about it yesterday.
Yes, we did.
That first down that he got on 3rd and 9 to extend the drive was huge, and then he had a touchdown catch. He had a long catch, too. Ja'Day Walker, man, he's a tough guy, and I think this team needs some toughness.
So I would rather have, and I'm being dead serious here, okay? You can argue with me, but especially with a Coach Elko-led team, I would rather have a Ja'Day Walker mentality than an Evan Stewart talent. And let me explain the why behind it. Give me those freaking yards, bro. He got you those freaking yards.
Yes. He didn't try to dance his way out to avoid contact. He fought through it.
I didn't think he was going to get it, and he found a way to get it.
It was very Mike Evans-like.
Yeah.
I remember Mike Evans, I think it was against Alabama, just fighting his way for a key first down. And it was kind of the same situation with Ja'Day. And I remember what Coach Smitty used to say, Jerry Schmidt said, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I think that's one of the things you see with Ja'Day Walker. He may not be as talented as a guy like Evan Stewart, but he's definitely tougher, and I think he probably works harder out there on the field.
That's not to say that I wouldn't want Evan Stewart on this team. It's more, I just want that mentality from my players. I don't care if you're the 5th wide receiver or the 1st wide receiver, if you're a tight end, I want you to fight for every inch, every yard.
Yeah, and he does, and that's what I like. Yes, I'm with you 100%. I like that kid because he's a tough guy that's going to give it everything he's got, and he's not afraid of contact.
Randy on the chat says, stop it, Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer. What you're saying is fighting for the yards, not the comparison yet.
I didn't say that he was as talented as Mike Evans. I said it was Mike Evans-like on that play. And then I think I even made a comparison to one game against Alabama when he made it. So, you're taking that way out of context, and I don't know why.
Okay, and then I'm going to do one more. Who's a defensive player that has shown up, and like you said yesterday on the show, I think this guy has arrived. It's now happening.
Yeah, Shamar Stewart.
Yep.
I'm not sure that he's not the best defensive lineman for Texas A&M right now. That says something because Nick Scorton's playing really well.
Yep.
And so is Shamar Turner. Shamar Turner had some big plays. So that's not meant to be a slide at them. That's just how impressive I think Shamar Stewart has been.
Yep. There was I'm trying to find, here's a stat or a note.
Who else is playing? Albert Regis is playing.
Regis is playing great. Yeah, he is. Absolutely. Blake on the YouTube page talking about the Auburn-Arkansas game. Mm-hmm. Auburn had 5 turnovers versus Arkansas, yet Arkansas won by 10. That's a pretty crazy stat to him. That many turnovers, and the game was that close.
Yeah. One of the turnovers was with a running back going into the end zone. He was at the 5-yard line, got swiped from behind, and the ball went into the end zone. Another turnover, again, was a guy in the middle of the field. I think they were driving and had the ball deflect off his hands. And I think another turnover might have been, another interception by Brown might have been deep in Arkansas's end of the field. So that contributed, I think. Yeah, they got the turnovers, but sometimes they got them so far deep in their own territory, it just kept Auburn from scoring. It didn't necessarily set up Arkansas to score.
One quick note, PG Ag and Keek Oaks on the text line says, when Jade is good, our offense hits another gear.
Yeah, I guess, I mean.
We need somebody to be good, right? If it's Cyrus Allen having a big game or Jade Walker, somebody on that receiving core has to step up.
Right, and I think it has to be Noah Thomas. We've been talking about all offseason how could Noah Thomas be a true number one. I think Mike Elko even said, we think he can be a true number one. And to be fair, if the ball was delivered accurately on this one crossing route, he probably has a 63-yard touchdown. But there was a play, and defensive back made a good play, so not necessarily on Noah, but there was a play in the end zone that, if at all possible, you need him to come down with it. If you're a true number one. So I think we're to the point now, it's almost, if Noah doesn't start emerging as that true number one and being more productive, then you got to kind of reassess what he really is.
You ever like a particular type of food, and then you go somewhere else, and you're like, oh my, this is now much higher on the list than I thought it was. Like for me, burn ends at $17.75. Yeah. Like I like burn ends, but I go to $17.75, and I just want to just kiss it and eat it and just enjoy every.
Just waller around in it like a pig in slop.
And I don't mean it like to. I'm just telling you, like when I taste the burn ends at $17.75, I'm like, where have you been, my dear? I love you. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, but you know what? I can say that about a lot of things. Like when I eat the pork ribs there.
Oh, I see you with the pork ribs.
I told you. I said I think these rival the best pork ribs I've ever had. They're in that same neighborhood. And then the brisket, I'm a big proponent of the $17.75 brisket.
I'm a proponent of the entire experience, right?
Yeah.
You're at a cool environment, good people, Brandon, the whole crew, right? Like you just like being there, OB. I don't know why I did the dramatic voice there, but it's true. I like being there.
Yeah, I like being there, but I have to admit, I wouldn't be there if not for that amazing barbecue that's just waiting for me when I get there.
Queso mac and cheese?
Queso mac and cheese. I'll have that queso anytime you say so.
You'll drink it. I like the way you did that.
Yeah. I'll just roll around in it.
Saturday, they're open Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. Online ordering turns off at 10 a.m. 8203 Raymond Stotzer Parkway in College Station, 979-492-6241. It is 1775txbbq.com. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour, presented by the warehouse at CC Creations. Let's go to the Boss Firearms hotline. Boss Firearms provides high-quality firearms and components to their civilian and law enforcement customer base. See what they got for yourself at bossfirearms.com. Let's go to the boss. Charean Williams, Pro Football Talk Hall of Famer, joining us here on the program. Charean, good morning.
Good morning. How are we doing today?
Good. I'm going to be very honest with you. I feel like I have failed as a host recently because I've been in a bad mood about the win on Saturday, and that's my fault. Obviously, it's better than the alternative, but when I walked into the stadium yesterday for the press conference, Dave Elmendorf was like, "It's a good day when they win, David. It's a good day," and I should have a better attitude, Charean.
Well, that's a game. I was thinking about this on the drive home. It's a game that they would have lost last year. I truly believe that, or the year before that. It was App State all over again, but a different outcome. So as mad as you and everyone else was about how it ended, not the final outcome, but just the way they played, it was a win. So a win is always good. This was going to be a tough game. I said that beforehand. This is going to be a tough game. I mean, the quarterback is pretty good. The running back's pretty good. It's a pretty good team. And so to think that you're going to walk in and beat them, 52-7 or something like you beat up on Monroe was not going to happen. So it was a win. It was a good win. I don't know that there were a ton of positives to come out of that game other than you can look at things and hopefully fix them. I mean, that's what these non-conference games are supposed to be for, to get some practice and fix some things. So hopefully they've done that this week and improved. And, when you have a freshman quarterback in there's going to be ups and downs. He hasn't seen everything. He hasn't done through everything. He hasn't lived through everything. So he's got to do that. You've got to go through that. And I thought his absolute worst play of the day was the run with one timeout with, 18 seconds, I think, left. And you could tell Elko on the sideline was just beside himself that, he didn't throw the pass away and preserve the timeout, give them the opportunity to do some different things, play call-wise, because you would have still had one timeout, and they couldn't do that. So that to me down there, if they scored the touchdown right before the half, I think things might have been different, but then you come out and you do what you did. And to open the second half with the kickoff going out of bounds and then the long play, and then it's a ball game. So, and frankly, Bowling Green should have had the lead in that game. So they didn't have to block punt. So I think A&M should feel relieved that it got out of there with the win. Again, I think this would have been a loss last year or the year before, so it could have been worse.
Charean, when have you seen the Aggies play what you'd consider really good football so far this year?
I thought Florida was a pretty good overall effort. I thought they beat what I think's a decent team. It's a Power 5 team. And it really wasn't a close game. If you make the 2 field goals at the end, if you do some, one play here, one play there, it's a bigger blowout than what it was. But I thought the Florida game overall, I was pleased with the way they played against Florida. I thought it was a good team effort overall.
I thought they were okay against Florida. I think Florida's not a well-coached team, and I think we forget some of the plays that were there for Florida that Florida didn't make. And so I guess what I'm getting at, I'm still waiting for this A&M team to play at a level that I think we came into the season thinking they could.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
It's still out there for them. Yeah, and as I said, and it didn't happen this week, but I do think they're going to get better as the season goes on. I do still believe that, even after, they took those steps the first 3 weeks and then not so much this past week, but I do think they continue to take those steps and get better each and every week. I'll say this. They're going to play much, much, much better quarterbacks than what they've seen so far. So buckle up, because, you're going to have to score some points in some of these games to have an opportunity to win, because your defense isn't going to be able to hold some of these teams down. They're just going to make plays. It is what it is. When you got a good quarterback, a Jaden Daniels, you look what he did against, everybody last year, not just A&M, but you're going to have to score a lot of points to keep up with quarterbacks like that. So buckle up. There's going to be some good quarterbacks come along, and hopefully the defense can make enough plays to give the offense an opportunity to make plays to win the game.
Talking to Charean Williams here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. When you look at Arkansas, they scare me just because I get scared of every SEC team and a team that's 3-1 on the year. That being said, are they the same Arkansas team? They just haven't played anybody yet, or do you think they're a legitimate threat?
Well, I'm kind of with you. Like every year I go in, oh man, I kind of dread this game, and then A&M ends up winning all but 1 year. So I hope it's the same thing that it should be a game that we win. Now I don't know, every game almost that we've played at AT&T Stadium has been close, so I would expect that it would be a close game to come down to the end. But I would expect A&M to win this game. If they don't, then then I think there's bigger problems because you're going to play much better teams, obviously, including the next week, than what you faced against Arkansas. This is a game, to me, that you have to win.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. I think Arkansas is somewhere in between. Arkansas is better than they were last year. I don't think there's any question about that. But you define, are they a threat? Are they a threat that they can beat you, or are they a threat to win 7 or 8 games? I don't think they're going to win 7 or 8. I don't think they're going to win 8 games.
Right.
But they can definitely beat you, especially if you don't play well. And there's something about A&M that brings out the best in Arkansas.
Yep. Charean.
Yeah, no question about it.
Let's before we do Ags in the NFL, why don't I just ask you about the Texas NFL teams? Not the best weekend.
Yeah, it was a tough weekend for both of them, and both of them were blown out pretty handily. The Cowboys did have the comeback to make it interesting, but I don't believe that anyone thought they were going to come all the way back and win that game. It would have been an all-timer if they had, but they obviously couldn't stop the running game, and that's what they're going to face from now on. When you give up that many rushing yards back-to-back weeks, that's what people are going to do to you. They're going to run against you, so they got to figure out a way to stop the run. And the Texans, the first couple of weeks showed some cracks and some signs that they weren't all there, and I think it all showed up against a really good team and what might be the best team in the NFL right now. When you look at their resume, the fact that they beat the 49ers and the Texans, I think they've got a pretty good resume going, surprisingly, with Sam Darnold. But that was just a butt-kicking start. And nothing went their way. When you try to block a guy, a really good edge rusher with a tight end on the first play, Cade Stover, a rookie tight end, albeit against Jonathan Greenard, who is a outstanding edge rusher, it's not going to work. And it was a holding penalty that called back a 17-yard gain. And then the next pass was an interception. The next play was an interception. It was all downhill from there, and just too many mistakes. I mean, we start talking about A&M and the pre-snap. The pre-snap penalties just drive me absolutely ballistic, especially when you're at home. There's no reason to have a pre-snap penalty. The formation penalties, the false starts, the delay of games, all those types of things are inexcusable in my mind. And the Texans had way too many of those, and they've had way too many of those all season. And they're going to cost you a game at some point. And they didn't cost them this game because they just got routed. But they added to what transpired. But, once things start going against you or for you, and it sometimes it just seems to snowball, whichever way it's going, and it snowballed on the Texans. And they've got to figure out how to get better and again, grow from that and figure out how to win some games. But a lot of that is little things, pre-snap penalties, blocking, and doing simple things that, they could be really good at, but they haven't been good at that so far this season. They haven't been quite as good as I expect them to be so far. But again, they have time.
Charean, let's get into Ags in the NFL, please.
Well, let's see. We're going to start with, we're going to give an honorable mention to Myles Garrett, playing through what he's playing through. He needs surgery on both feet and really struggling to stay in the game. But if anybody watched that game, if you haven't seen, just go back and Google Myles Garrett and Andrew Thomas, and look what he did to an outstanding veteran tackle. I mean, it was the lowest rated. I think it was the lowest rated Andrew Thomas has had for his career from Pro Football Focus. It was, and Myles had no sacks, but he was all over the quarterback. He did have 3 quarterback hits and just abused Andrew Thomas. So we're going to give him honorable mention for what he's doing. Von Miller, number 3 last night, had another sack. He's had a sack in every game after having none last year. He's really come back. If it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers, I think we'd be talking strongly about Von Miller as one of the comeback player of the year candidates. And he still is, depending on what happens with Rodgers the rest of the year. But he just played really solid football this year. Now tied for, you're going to test me because I'll top of the head, 16th, I think, with Derek Thomas in sacks for a career. Number 2, edge. Edric Cooper, 3 tackles. He got his half a sack and a quarterback hit. Played really well for the Packers, who are obviously rolling with or without Jordan Love, and he's added to their defense. And then another rookie, Jalen Jones. 2 interceptions. One of them was an unbelievable interception. Just probably going to be a candidate here. I think the Players of the Week come out tomorrow. Going to be a Defensive Player of the Week candidate for the AFC with the way he played for the Colts. A really good addition for them, and I think we're going to see great things from him.
Charean, great job as always. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Charean Williams here on the Boss Firearms Hotline. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with one final segment with a couple of text messages to read. Right now, Heritage Films time. That's a company that makes documentary films about families, family businesses, family ranches. Whatever your family story is, you want to preserve that story and share it with the next generation and the generation after that. Let Chance McClain and his team do that. He'll make this 2-hour documentary for you that you can all watch as a family, gather together and watch it together, and then pass it on to the next generation and the generation after that. It doesn't have to be about family businesses or family ranches. It can be about just good old times with your buddies. You guys go play golf on the weekends, go hunting together, you do tailgates together. Let Chance be an eye in the sky of family celebrations and good old times. It is yourheritagefilm.com, the website, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. It's Heritage Films. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. He's Olin Buchanan. I'm David Nuño, and she's Callie Gardner at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Callie?
We have a text talking about what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, and it says the 180 rushing yards we gave up against McNeese mostly occurred in the second half when Elko cleared the benches, playing 85 athletes. Building depth is painful but critical.
I don't look at the McNeese game as a barometer. I look at Notre Dame initially. I look at Florida. I look at Bowling Green. The McNeese game, that's just, to me, I don't want to call it a glorified practice, but basically, it's basically that. Like, I wanted to see Marcel get some reps, regardless, before we knew how injured Connor was or not, right? I wanted to see Marcel get some reps. I wanted to see the defense clean up some things. I wanted to see Le'Veon find his way, Amari. So that's what that game was. I look at the other three as the real litmus test of where A&M is.
Yeah, McNeese, there's not anybody on A&M's backup on A&M's too deep that McNeese wouldn't jump at to add to their roster. So that the other games, look, Mississippi State ran the ball pretty well on Florida. It is what it is.
Yep.
That's why I'm saying we're still trying to figure out just how good these guys are. I think there's vast potential, but it's time to start playing up to it.
Here's the thing. I don't know how good you have to be. Well, let me pause how I say this. The teams on your schedule, I don't think you have to be that good to beat. You just have to be good enough. And can you be good enough and be ascending, OB? Because I think you can win all these games. Like right now, I wouldn't pick them to beat. I don't think I'd pick them to beat Missouri yet, but I might. I'm not sure how I feel about LSU and obviously Texas. But the rest of these games, you should win.
Well, I think I don't think there's a team on the schedule you can't beat if you play to the potential that you have. But A&M, for whatever reason, tends to play to the caliber of its opponent.
Can I ask an old man question?
Yeah.
I still feel like I have the flu, but I don't have the flu. You know, like that kind of like.
Yeah.
Like. Is it because I'm getting old, the recovery? Is that what it is?
And it gets worse.
It sucks, dude. It's been 9 days. Like, I don't feel sick. I just don't feel like myself.
Yeah. How old are you?
48.
Yeah. In 2 years, it's going to be a lot worse.
Huh.
You got that to look forward to.
You know, I'm still going to knock out a gym session.
Yeah.
I'll knock you out, too. I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah.
He's OB. When we come back here on TexAgs Live, what do we got? We got Jamie McCoy, the real McCoy. Jamie McCoy, then we'll have Jamie Morrison, then we'll have KBTX, then we'll have you. What? Okay, I know our YouTube audience can't hear. What song is this? And why?
Taylor
Cali
Swift.
Sabotage.
What?
That's Taylor Swift?
I don't like Taylor Swift. That would be a Kay Nagley
Yeah, that's
sabotage.
Yeah.
You don't?
No.
I wonder if Jamie McCoy likes Taylor Swift. It's TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. We go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. Jamie, Taylor Swift, yes or no? Did we lose it?
I can rock with Taylor.
Oh, there you are.
My daughter, some Taylor. So, yeah, Taylor's cool with me.
Hey, I'm advancing the story now because I've been kind of sad. And sad's not the right word. I just kind of like uninspired, whatever, from the game this weekend. What's your initial takeaway from what you saw against Bowling Green?
Man, for me, you hear
Jamie, I think we may call you on the phone. We keep losing you.
to
Why don't we try calling you, Jamie? If we can have the folks at
We
Brian
just lost
Broadcasting
Jamie
call
McCoy.
him.
Yeah, we'll
Send
call
him the
him.
number. We'll try to get Jamie here on the program on the phone here in a moment. Let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I know you got a couple other things while we wait to get Jamie on the show.
Yeah, we have a text from Madden in Houston. Says, I think Reed is the reason A&M won last weekend. His ability to escape and keep drives alive potentially saved them.
Here's the deal. He does provide something that, like, they don't have, an explosive player, right? Like, and I know that Jade can have his explosive moments, Cyrus Allen, but when the offense is stuck in mud at times, right, he provides a different element. Let's go back to the Boss Firearms Hotline. Jamie McCoy's back with us. Jamie, sorry, we kept on losing you, so we thought it'd be better to get you on the phone.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Sorry about that on my end.
All good. So I just wanted you to give us your thoughts on what you saw Saturday.
So for me, like I was saying, you get Bowling Green and you think this should be a blowout. Let's get back at home and get over here with the fans, give them something to see. But I thought Bowling Green was a tough opponent. What I saw them put on tape was a tough out. And you saw that was evident against Penn State as well. Defensively, I compare it to playing your little brother in a video game growing up. There's situations where you're supposed to punt, things that you're supposed to do by the letter of the law. But when you're one of those smaller schools playing a big school, you can break that stuff and just go for it on fourth down in your own territory, things of that nature. I was proud of us for getting out of there with a win. I think in the past regime, that's a game that we would have let slip away and let people, laugh and do their normal Aggie jokes and whatnot. But I was proud of the boys for fighting tough, hanging in there, getting it done. There was a lot of stuff to clean up, but again, nevertheless, proud of them. And for me, the good thing I take away from it is getting a win and having a lot of stuff that you can go into this week and harp on, whether it be the penalties, whether it be the turnovers, just cleaning up all the little things, because the little things can add up to take you out in the end.
Jamie, in your career, we'll go NFL, we'll go college football, and maybe even high school. How much of a finished product are you after 4 games? And I guess what I'm saying is, especially with the new regime, new coaching, new everything, right? Like, is this who A&M is right now? Or no, we haven't even knocked on the door yet?
I honestly don't think we've knocked on the door yet. I mean, we're still at the point where we're asking, is a certain quarterback going to be ready? Are they a game-time decision? We've got Brooks back at the safety position who has been knocked out of a couple games, so we don't know where he exactly fits into the secondary scheme. And then I think we're now getting into the meat and potatoes of the conference where you're going to see our D-line take a much bigger step. I don't think they've tapped into all of their potential as well, but now we're getting to that point where teams are going to have to drop back. Teams are going to be looking to make explosive plays against us, and you can't do that. Everybody we've gone against thus far has been getting the ball out of their hands within 2 seconds, which is I think that accounts for a lot of the reason that the defensive line hasn't been able to get to the quarterback as much. But here in SEC play, you want to make chunk plays, so it takes time for stuff to develop. So more time gives our defensive line more time to get to the quarterback, and I think Elko will dial up some stuff this week.
Talking to Jamie McCoy on the Boss Firearms Hotline. What are things that you think can be cleaned up quickly?
One is ball security. Granted, it was the end of the game that we saw that come in the fold, but that's something that can immediately, guys know that you got to take care of the ball, and to be on the field, you got to do that. I think we were decent on our run fits. Their running back, he had a few good carries there in the beginning, but we seemed to stifle all of that. I think the main thing I would say is just communication on the defensive end. I feel like the one touchdown coming right out of third quarter was just two guys getting confused on who had who. So things of that nature, I think just communicating, being on the same page, being in one accord, I think those are some simple things that you can it's really alignment and assignment. Being in the right place before the play gets started and knowing your job and doing your job to the best of your ability.
Talking to Jamie McCoy. Jamie, let's talk tight ends for a moment. Obviously, people are very excited from what they're seeing from Theo, but it's still just one catch. He's got his last two catches have been touchdowns. What do you think about the group overall? Do you think they're going to be more involved in the offense moving forward? How do you think the blocking is going? And just talk a little bit more about Theo's growth.
Theo, for starters, Theo has been amazing. All you can do is control what you can control. And the balls that have been thrown his way, he's done a good job of catching those. Him along with Trey, they both, I believe, have done a great job blocking. I feel like before the fumble, I thought we were on our way to trying to get back to another 300-yard game, which would have been amazing. But the fact that we got over 200 again just speaks to the offensive line as a whole. And I would say the tight end is kind of a little facet of the offensive line. So blocking-wise, I think they're doing great. I think Colin Klein could do a great job of getting them more involved. I'm not sure what's in his route tree for the tight ends, but getting the tight end over the ball, we should be making 5 to 6 catches a game right there in that little pocket of the paint. I'd say 10 yards down the field and 2 yards outside of the offensive tackle. The tight end should be making hay in that little area, and we just haven't seemed to take advantage of that. I think it's something that we can do, especially with all our jet motion and quarterbacks being very capable and running backs being able to block. I think it's just something that we haven't implemented yet. So I'm hoping, and I got my fingers crossed, that that's the case, where we just haven't done it yet, and we're waiting to use it for certain stuff, but that's to be seen.
So, Jamie, I look at the running game, and it was weird because they obviously had good numbers when you look, but it felt like it took a while for that running game to get going. And if you take away Marcel, which you can't take him away, but if you take him away, they still ran pretty well. You've got Le'Veon averaging 5.6 per carry. He had 90 yards on the day. So just when you look at the running game, and maybe that's kind of the goal, right, is to wear down a defense and be able to run at will at the end of a game. I wouldn't say they ran at will, but they got better as the game went on.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, they didn't run it at will, but as the game went on, you could see that a crease would open up and we get 6, 7, 8 yards, which wasn't the case at the beginning of the game. I think that just goes to, like you said, us wearing them down. But then again, on there, you got to give Bowling Green some credit, and I do, because they were in that bare front where every lineman is accounted for. Sometimes they might drop a guy out, but at the same time, before the pre-snap, that lineman is thinking, I'm about to take this guy on. So whether he leaves or not, they had somebody on top of everybody. So I think it was just a great job by the offensive line as a whole of staying the course, doing what you're asked to do, and at the end of the day, getting it done. But I give all kudos to Bowling Green because they presented some stuff. And I also give kudos to A&M because we faced a lot of adversity that a lot of teams aren't playing. Whether people want to laugh about Bowling Green, I think that's a really solid team, and they presented a lot of stuff that you're not always going to see because it's just too difficult to run that defense if you don't have the right pieces. And they did a great job, and I think we answered the call and got the job done. So it was kudos to both teams.
Let's talk quarterback for a moment. So it's been a while since we've seen Connor. It may be a little bit longer. Who knows? Marcel seems to be learning the position as we go. When you look at that room overall, and, we have Jalen Henderson, who we haven't really seen this year. When you look at that room, are you getting more confidence in Marcel? And also, are you still on board with Connor?
I am getting more confidence in Marcel. With each rep and each game and each series that you get to take the helm, you're getting a little bit more confidence and you're putting more stuff in your memory bank. And that's all you can do as a veteran quarterback is have enough stuff that you can rely on and go back to as far as things that you've seen out there on the field. There's nothing that can replace the actual game time experience. So with Marcel, each game that he's getting, I'm growing in faith and trust, and I'm sure the coaches are too as far as him getting us out of sticky situations. There were a few times where the pocket may break down and he goes out and gets us a first down or extends the play or gets a third down into a shorter scenario. So those are things, kind of intangibles that you can't coach or plan for, but when it happens and he's our guy at the moment, it's stuff that just, it's a positive on both ends. Now, as far as Wigman goes, I wouldn't count the McNeese State game. So the last thing that all the Aggies have on their mind is that Notre Dame game. And I'm still hopeful for Wigman because I know what he has done in the past and what I know that he's capable of. I think not only for us as fans, but I think him himself, he needs to get out there and actually have a game where he proves to himself that he still has it, that he hasn't lost anything, and he still has the trust of the team and the coaches, which I absolutely think he does. I think it's just a matter of him feeling healthy enough that if I step out there and I take a hit, it's not going to push me back. I can go out there and be willing to drop a shoulder if I need to. So whenever he gets to that point, I think he'll be ready. But I think the coaches are doing a good job of saying, if you're not ready, we got a guy that's plenty capable, and should something happen to him when we need a call on you, maybe you can step in. But for now, I think they're doing a good job of balancing both of the guys.
Follow me here. While Connor had a rough game against Notre Dame, some of it has been the receivers weren't in the right spots, right? But I do think in this past game against Bowling Green, we saw more open receivers than we had seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's it's not somewhat it is on the quarterback, but for the receiver, that's the main thing. You hear it all the time in the NFL. Guys think they're open every play. You just saw CD and Dak getting into it, where CD thinks he's always open, even when he's double teamed. But that's the mentality you have to have as a receiver. I love seeing Noah take a few steps forward this game. Granted, it wasn't against just top tier competition, but whatever the competition may be, you need to build that confidence and show and prove that you can get open and that the quarterback can take that drop and on that hit, know that you're going to be open and make the catch. I think Cyrus has done a good job for us. Guys, I'm blanking on number one's name. He's done a good job. Moose Muhammad, I don't know what's going on. As soon as I give him a compliment, try to get him a little signal going, he's not anywhere on the tape. So we just got to bring it all together. We've had good moments on offense. We've had good moments on defense. We've had bad moments on offense and defense. I'm hoping that this weekend they can get a culmination of that. Offense, defense, special teams, whether it be field goals, not getting punts blocked, things of that nature. If we can just put a full scheme on tape, I think it would be great to do that in Jerry World and then come back the following weekend and have a tough top-tier opponent in Missouri. Not trying to say I'm getting ahead of myself, but I think this is the weekend that the guys put it all on tape and bring it together.
Well, let's talk about that, if that happens, right? Because I think Arkansas is going to be an interesting opponent for obvious reasons. It's a game that I think A&M has to have and can and should have. But they do worry me a little bit just because the inconsistencies that I've seen from A&M this year.
Yeah. It worries me too, especially knowing that Arkansas has a quarterback that's mobile, a lot like Marcel. But I think I have trust in Elko that he's very aware and knows what these guys are capable of and will put our guys in the right position, whether it's confusing them pre-snap or doing what we need to do post-snap. Arkansas, for whatever reason, this game has always come down to, it seems like I know there's been some that haven't, but it always seems to come down to a field goal and who has the ball last and who can make that turnover at the end. Again, I feel like I have all the confidence in the world. I think I think we would do ourselves a great service to go out here and have our O-line take over. I think this game is going to be won in the trenches on both sides. Granted, receivers got to make plays, quarterbacks, backs, DBs got to make plays. But I think if our O-line can go out there and impose their will, and then our D-line go out and impose their will and get some QB hurries, QB sacks, maybe some tip balls and interceptions, I think that's where the game is won. It's going to be a battle of who's the beefiest, who's the hungriest, and who's not going to take no for an answer.
The optimistic point of view is the defensive line is just a step away from having one of those breakthrough performances. And while they've been good, I feel like there's a way other higher level that's achievable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We got to see a little bit more blitzing. I remember the years when Elko was here before he left for Duke, where we were bringing safeties, we were bringing corners, we were doing all kinds of exotic things. We haven't done that yet, and I think that's something that they're just holding in their back pocket for tougher opponents, which I think this would be a perfect time to bring some of that out. Ratcliffe has done an amazing job. Bryce has been doing well. I really do think we see a little bit of that this weekend, and hopefully the defense lives up. I think the D-line can absolutely. I got a feeling that Petrino is going to try to put in a few deep shots, and I think the extra time that they take for a play to set up is going to allow our defensive line to get home and land some sacks. So I'm hoping it's there. I know we got the potential for it to be there, but we got to stop living on potential and get some results. So I know these guys are hungry. We're getting to the middle part of the season. They've got to start stacking them up now. So the want to is there. It's just putting it on tape and getting it done.
Last thing for you. What do you think the 2 or 3 keys are to this weekend to getting a victory over Arkansas?
I think we got to go 200-plus rushing with our running backs, the 3 backs in the stable. I think there needs to be at least 3 sacks, if not 10 QB hurries. I think we need to put pressure on the quarterback and not let him get comfortable or give him alleys to, improv kind of the way Marcel does. And then I think if we can be clean on special teams, one thing, when you put something on tape where you get a punt block, you got to know that the next team is watching tape and they envision themselves doing the same thing to you. So we got to clean up the special teams part of it. We got to get the kickoffs back through the end zone. We can't kick it out of bounds and give teams that short field that they got early in the third quarter. But good O-line play, good D-line play, and then cleaned up special teams. I think everything else takes care of itself, especially with the adrenaline you'll have from playing in Jerry World with the big big screen up ahead. We always seem to do well with our crowd there, with it being so close. So take care of those things, the trenches and special teams, and I think we should have a smooth win this weekend.
Great stuff as always, Jamie. Thanks for your time, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good one, David.
Thank you very much. Jamie McCoy on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Appreciate his time. So I got a text there from Coach Henry during that segment. He reminds us, and this is true, Isaiah Satania, who was once committed to Texas A&M, is the son to Mario Satania, who's on Coach Henry's staff. So just a little bit of a full circle moment right there. On the year, Isaiah Satania's got 10 receptions, 213 yards. He does have a touchdown, which was 58 yards. So a little bit of insight there from Coach Henry. Thank you so much for listening, Coach Henry, and props to you. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back with Jamie Morrison. SEC play is upon us. We got Texas coming up, Missouri coming up. We've also got to look back at the Wisconsin game. Right now, FBS Appliance and their team of experts are here to help you find the appliances that make your house a home. They carry all the top brands you can imagine. But the bottom line is they've been taking care of Texas since 1988, and they're going to give you the best customer service and also the best appliances to find to make that special home for you, right? They have all the trusted appliances. They're going to pride themselves on offering a comprehensive solution that sets them apart from the competition, and they specialize in providing top-notch sales and installation services for all the leading brands to ensure a seamless experience for all of their customers. They're committed to delivering that exceptional customer experience from start to finish. They have 8 showrooms across Texas. Find them online at factorybuilderstores.com. That is factorybuilderstores.com. It's FBS. And we're back here on TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Talk a little volleyball. Jamie Morrison is in studio. So I saw you yesterday.
Yeah.
But I feel like, and I saw you last week before you left, but I feel like you've been all around the world recently.
I think we went through 4 states. Like our bus driver, Miss Kim, was amazing, and she'd be like, we're in Illinois, and then it would be like, we're in Iowa, and then we're so yeah, it was a 5-day road trip. I think our players, myself, feel like we were gone for about 2 weeks. I missed you.
I missed you too.
Yeah, it's good to be home.
So talk a little bit about the experience, because there were some highs and some learning experiences, and also I would assume a lot of growth with the team itself, just together, being together in that kind of environment.
Yeah, we had 3 matches over those, what felt like 55 days.
5 days.
No, 5 days. Went to UNI, and I think for people that aren't in the know in volleyball, Bobby's built, I would say, a powerhouse there. They've, I think, won 7 of 8 conference championships. They're just a well-rounded volleyball team. They can pass the ball, and somehow we've managed to hit everybody's home opener. So week 3, they've been on the road for 3 straight weeks. It was the first time they played in front of their home crowd, and people showed up, and it was rowdy, and the student section got after us, and we got down into a hole. And similar to the entire season, we've just found different ways to get ourselves out, and I was really proud of the team for doing that. And we had a win against a really, really good volleyball team, and then got on our bus and I think went through 1 state and ended up in Wisconsin. But played a Wisconsin team, and I think that's one of the best volleyball environments and venues in the country, maybe world. And they packed it out, and it got rowdy, and it got loud, and I thought it took us 15 points to kind of get our footing and kind of lean into that, and then I think we did. And that second set, I thought they got a little lucky at the end. We probably should have won it, but played really good volleyball. And I've said it before on this show, I've said it other places, like that's a muscle that you got to flex that gets tired over time, and it's like, ooh, I did a whole set, and okay, now I'm going to relax a little bit. And I thought we did it for the longest that we've done it. We played really good volleyball for long stretches, and I think it'll help us grow. And then play this, I don't know, big match, 7,000 fans. It's rowdy. We're fired up. We go to bed at 11 o'clock. We wake up the next morning. We play at 1 p.m., I think, or something like that. This quick turnaround, and same arena. It's empty. I thought we came out a little flat in the first set, and learned some things there that I think we're going to, I don't know, do some different things warm-up wise to kind of get us ready for what's going on in there. But turned around and beat a good Troy team. And after that, so lost the first set, and then played pretty well for the next 3. So like you said, a lot of learning experiences, a lot of stretching, a lot of growing, a lot of bonding, being on the road for 5 days around each other. So we're in a good spot heading into SEC.
You mentioned that figuring out how to win in those tough situations, like that is like, for some teams, they never figure that part out. And I think you can, not only do you learn from it, but it's a muscle you can flex later on when you get in those situations.
Yeah, and it becomes a piece of your identity. Like, oh, we've done it before. Like, we can go do it right now. Which I think is a huge testament to our team, the people that are on it, the growth that's happening. We talked about being optimistic, but not in the everything's going to be okay. We're going to figure this out, and I think we've done a really good job of staying true to that this entire season.
Let's talk a little bit about SEC play. It's here.
It is. Yeah.
I think you've had a ramp up, right? Like do you feel like you're in a good place to start?
I feel like we're in a great spot. I feel when I talk to other teams, I think the physical piece is people are like, oh, we're beat up here, we're beat up there, and I think we're hitting our stride. And hats off to our performance team. And I'll give Scott, our sports scientist, some credit of making sure that we're managing our load. I'll give Tom, our new strength coach, some credit of I feel like our athletes are well-rounded, robust, and able to go withstand kind of the pressure of this thing. And then Taylor, our athletic trainer, of keeping us healthy. But I think from a physical standpoint, they were there. I think from a mental standpoint, again, I like the test that we had last weekend. And I think we're ready to go take on the SEC.
Obviously, people are going to talk about the rivalry because it is Texas to start SEC play. And
there's a rivalry?
Yeah.
Oh.
But how do you get your team, and I'm sure it's probably easier for you than like for a fan, but like, look, the rivalry is the rivalry. We need to win. We want to win. But let's not forget what's important this year.
I think a lot of people, I'm going to say myself, have had September 27th circled on the calendar of obviously the rivalry is big. For me, it's also this opportunity, I think, to bring people in that are fans of the rivalry to become a fan of volleyball. So there's a piece of that for me. But it's a volleyball match, and they're human beings, and we got to go after them, and we got to figure out how to pick them apart and how to win a volleyball match. And then the other one, I'm going to be echoing to our team, and I'll echo to other people too, just we need support. Like we have a match on Sunday against Missouri, and that's equally important. So making sure that it's not just the rivalry and not just Texas. It's, hey, we need to be good for 3 days this weekend. We need to be good on Friday. We need to be good at recovering on Saturday. We need to be good at going out on Sunday and winning that match as well. So making sure that we balance all of that.
And also, Texas happens to be really good at volleyball.
They're okay.
Well, and Missouri's good at volleyball. But Texas is pretty elite.
Yeah, they're 2-time defending national champions. So, and again, but they're human beings. Like, they have their weaknesses. They have their things that we can pick on. We got to make sure we find them and we stay dialed into doing that for hopefully 2.5 hours during that match. But yeah, they're good. 2-time defending national champions. Again, I respect what Jared's done. I was there for a little bit. People haven't held it against me up until this point, so I don't think they will. But I was there for a little bit. Have a lot of respect for their team. Have a lot of respect for their staff and what they put together.
So you mentioned that yesterday, and I know you've talked about it before, but it kind of hit me yesterday. Like, you working with Texas was kind of a gateway to coming to A&M. Can you kind of take us through that?
So I was the volunteer assistant there, and people, I don't know, thought I was crazy for it at the time. And for me, I was outside of volleyball. I love this game. I love coaching this game. I wanted a piece of it, and I wanted to know what was going on behind the curtain. I wanted to know how they've been to so many Final Fours, but maybe necessarily hadn't at that time gotten over the hump of winning more than one national championship. So again, close to them, they opened up all doors for me to ask questions and look at things. So that was a piece of it. But while I was there, I was also coaching for Athletes Unlimited, which is a professional volleyball league that is actually starting up here in a week or two down in Arizona. But I was coaching for them up in Dallas, and we were in a bubble. It was during that COVID year. And so I would prepare scouting reports, and then I'd watch the game on ESPN. And I'd just be a fan kind of watching. And Texas played Texas A&M, and Texas was ranked number 1. A&M wasn't ranked. And I think, if I remember the number, 8,236 fans showed up to the game. And it was not just a normal 8,226 fans. It was a rowdy 8,226 fans that were getting after the other school. And I had a checklist of things when I was, coming back. And one of them was being in a place where people care. Being in a place where the fan base cares. Being in a place where I could ride this wave that volleyball is growing and help it grow. And for me, watching that match, I was just like, man, there's something special going on at this university. And I didn't know what it was at the time. I didn't know the tradition of the 12th man. I didn't know all these things. It was just, you could feel that it was different. And for me, it planted the seed in the back of my head of just like, man, that's a really awesome place to be. And I think when the job opened up, it was an immediate, like, that check was checked off of, like, people care. Like, I can build a fan base. Like, people are going to care about volleyball. I can get them to fall in love with this beautiful game. And it was the beginning, the impetus of me being here.
Last thing for you, when you look at the season and break it up, is it as simple as your non-conference to get you ready, it's your conference and your postseason? Do you break it up into microcycles? How do you kind of, like, as you're ramping up to be at your best?
Yeah, there's little pieces of it at microcycles where at the beginning of the year we'll take a wide angle lens of this year and kind of look at, all right, here's this, here's this, here's this. But I've said it on the show when I get on here. Like, when I get in it, it's like, all right, it's Tuesday. Like, tomorrow it's Wednesday, and then it's Thursday, and then we have to play Texas, and then on Saturday we recover, and then on Sunday we play Missouri. So for me, the microcycle is this week. Right. I'll take a peek at that, and it's how do I make today the best Tuesday we've ever had, and how do I make tomorrow the best Wednesday we've ever had, but really taking it one day at a time.
When people say, like, just be 1% better each day, it feels like coach speak, but it's so true, right? 100%. Like, if you can just be a little bit better the next day.
And the flip side of it is if you, like, be like, hey, you know what, let's try to be 10%, that's big. That's, like, really daunting. Like, you look at it, you're like, I got to go in here. I don't know, imagine, like, you're in the weight room and you're trying to put on a 10% gain tomorrow, and you I don't know, squat 300 and you're going to throw 330 on there. Like, you're going to crumble. But if you're like, I can squat 300, I'm going to throw 301 on there. It's like, yeah, I can do that. Like, I can get that done tomorrow. So I think that piece of it too, of like, this is enough that we can bite off and chew in order to go get better. So the 1% better is, I know it's cliche, but I just think to find something that you can leave different at is really, really important.
All right, I lied. I said one more thing twice, and I'm going to do one more thing. Let's tell the people, we need folks to come out and pack read.
Pack read. And again, like, if you don't like Texas, pack read. If you like volleyball, pack read. If you want to support us and you've been on the air and you're like, man, this guy sounds interesting, pack read. This is the match, and if people just want, I don't know, to come out and get a taste of it, like, this is the match to come out and get a taste of it. And if you like it, and I would say this, like, we need Support Sunday, but if that's the thing that gets people there and gets them addicted, I'm all in. Come out, pack read, see what we're about, fall in love with it, fall in love with our girls, fall in love with the style of volleyball, the way that we're entertaining people in the crowd, and come back.
I guarantee if you go, you're going to want to go back. That's a fact. Jamie, thank you, sir.
Always a pleasure.
Appreciate you. Right now, your car wash tradition with the friendliest staff is Aggie Express Car Wash. They have 2 locations. You know about the original William D. Fitch, the new location there on Texas Avenue. That location there, they have a full-service wash. So if you're looking for full service, that's the place to go to get it. They have their team's going to take care of the cleaning, the drying, the vacuuming, the Armor All interior, all under a completely covered patio so that your car stays cool. And for a limited time, they want you to try that, right? So let's try it for half price. It's usually $40. They'll give it to you for $20 if you tell them TexAgs sent you by. And we're going to give a free one off right now, 979-693-1150. The first person to call that number will get a free car wash, full service car wash from the brand new location there at Texas Avenue. It's Aggie Express Car Wash, 979-693-1150. And we're back on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Appreciate everybody listening in. It's time for our KBTX Roundtable. Morgan Weaver, Tyler Shaw in the house. Hello, friends.
Hello.
How's kind of a long table.
It is a long table.
How are things going, guys? Are we feeling good about football right now?
Yeah, we're in like the thick of it, I feel like. The weeks
we're
are just
about
going.
to find out. Yeah.
So, this media entity, when I say media entity, like me personally, not TexAgs.
I am the entity.
Just me. Yes. I'm trying to move on from the Bowling Green game and actually have a better attitude than I had initially. What was your initial takeaway, Morgan, you start us off, Saturday, and where are you today on a Tuesday?
Saturday, I was like, ugh. I was like, but they did enough to win. I'm like, they got a win. They found a way to win, which I think previous teams wouldn't have found a way. They would have let Bowling Green come back and upset them. So
and I feel like that's like the theme. Everybody thinks like, yeah, last year we would have lost that game.
Or maybe they wouldn't. Who knows? But I think that the fact that they won is great. And I know Mike Elko expressed levels of frustration. I don't think he was just happy with a win.
Sure.
I think in the post game and even a little bit on Monday, it felt as though they came off of a loss, which they didn't. They still got a win in the win column. And so now I feel a little bit better, but there's a lot of things I still think need to be cleaned up, especially heading into the thick of SEC.
Tyler?
I did like how frustrated Mike Elko was because, it wasn't just like, well, we won, so like, what's there be, I mean, it was as if they had lost, because he knows what this team can be, what this team should be, and they did not show that on Saturday. I do feel like the ceiling of this team is much higher than maybe in years past, and because of that, while uninspiring at times Saturday was, I know that the flip can be switched, and I'm not too worried about the direction of the team as long as they continue to, move up and go in that direction. Yeah.
For me, it's not about the direction of the team. I'm fully on board with the direction of the team. I think it's being starved for greatness here, right? For the last 3-4 years, we've been waiting for that, and then you see the product on Saturday, and you're like, how does that translate when you take on SEC teams? And I think that's been the hard part for me, because I don't expect this team to be a playoff team this year, right? That's not my. I would love to see it happen. It's still a possibility. They're still mathematically in the mix. But I just want to see a team that keeps getting better against SEC opponents. And we were unhappy with Notre Dame. McNeese, you weren't going to feel happy no matter what. Super happy with Florida. And then you're like,
it's a lot of ups and downs.
Right? Like, so I just want, and I think this could be that weekend where if you punch Arkansas in the mouth, then you're like, all right, things are back. If you get punched in your mouth, like, oh man, here we go again. And that's why I think it's such a big week, Morgan.
Yeah, I think it's a really big week. And I think some of the things that Mike touched on was just consistency. And I think this week is a good week to start to find that kind of consistency. And I think the things that we're, not worried about, but we're not worried about the O-line and the D-line. And I think that's a great thing this season compared to seasons before, because the other things I think are fixable. And so, yeah, I think they can find that consistency this week.
You talk about being punched in the mouth or punching in the mouth. The way this Arkansas series has gone, I really do think it's going to be a field goal type of game. And so that's why I really don't know what to expect.
Well, Randy Bond's automatic, so if it's a field goal game, they're okay.
That's true. If we get another oink doink or something like that. But it is, and this game is going to be telling though, not so much, the direction of the season is going to go, but, if you come off a confident win against Arkansas, then you're coming back home, to a top 10 team, Missouri, who just had a big scare with Vanderbilt. Then you're talking about a lot of momentum that could be happening. And then maybe you have a healthy Connor Wigman coming back into the mix.
And I think maybe some of my apprehension is a little bit unfair, because I think if A&M beats Arkansas the way they beat Bowling Green, I'm going to be ecstatic, even though it wasn't that. And maybe that's not giving Bowling Green the credit that they deserve, because we knew it going into it, right? We all said the talking points. Bowling Green almost beat Penn State. They were down by a touchdown in Michigan. They beat Georgia Tech.
Then why were the expectations for A&M to completely pummel them then?
I think because the first half, you saw the path to that. And then in the second half, immediately they score. And then they score again. I think that's why, Tyler.
Yeah. Well, and you said, if they beat Arkansas in the same way, of course, that'd be a great win. Because, 22-point favorites against Bowling Green. It's a 3.5 game right now against Arkansas. So I think
if you go in with the expectations that this is going to be a dogfight, it's going to be a close game, something crazy is going to happen, any win, a win in overtime would be great for the Aggies.
Yeah, I'll take.
Let's not wish overtime.
Yeah, I don't know if I can handle it. I'm emotional.
The heart rate, it's not going to work too well.
I got some issues with it. All right, let's talk quarterback battle because Taylor Green's got a lot more experience than Marcel Reed, if it is Marcel, by the way, because it'll be TBD.
Game time decision.
Right, game time decision.
For the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But, regardless, I like that Marcel's getting these reps, and I still, I told you last week, I'm still fully on board with Connor Wickman. But I like what I'm seeing from Marcel, Morgan.
I am too, and I think when asked about it yesterday, Elko said that he's going to get better every single time he gets under center, and you like that progression. I mean, statistically, his game against Florida and Bowling Green was almost the same, and I think the biggest thing for me is he has the ball majority of the time. He's running with the ball. I mean, he almost is hitting 100 yards in every game rushing, and he's protecting it. He doesn't have any turnovers, which I really enjoy.
He's, we knew that, he is the quarterback of the future for the Aggies. So the amount of experience and reps he's getting this year, and again, you kind of said, you're not expecting this to be a playoff team, and this is kind of a building year.
They're still in the mix. I'm
sure.
I'm just saying, I want to focus on, I sound like a coach here, get better each week, and then we can worry about that in November.
I think this year is more about establishing year one of Mike Elko, what this team is going to be. And same with the quarterback. He gets the experience this year. You go into next year, and if he's the starter day one, he'll be ready to take off. You look at kind of what Texas has done and with Quinn Ewers. He was kind of shaky to start at Texas, but he got those reps, and now he's before he got hurt, started lighting up the fire.
Anyway, people talk about Connor getting hurt. Quinn's been hurt a few times too.
Right. Yeah.
We'll do this. We'll hit a break. We'll come back. I want to talk a little defense, and then we'll get the KBTX Big Three on the other side. If you're looking for a reason to come back to Aggie Land, or you know somebody who would be a great fit for a great organization, reach out to the Association of Former Students because they're always looking to hire professionals to join their team. In the past, they've had openings in marketing, fundraising, many different departments. Marketing, obviously. Don't miss opportunities to help out the association with Howdy Socials, Aggie Reading Day, class reunions, Aggie Muster, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, respect, loyalty, and selfless service, all in support of that worldwide Aggie network. So if you're interested in joining a team or know somebody who would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/associationjobs. That's tx.ag/associationjobs. We are TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. David Nuño here with Morgan Weaver, Tyler Shaw, KBTX, Big Three. All right, let's talk defense. Tyler, you start us off. The defense has been good. I don't think it's been great yet, but it's been good.
Still looking for more from the secondary, but the defense has been good. The defensive line has done maybe not what we thought we would do numbers-wise and production-wise, but a lot of that is all the attention that they get. Because opponents know how dangerous that defensive line is. And then you have one little gap and you see what happens with Shamar Turner coming into your face and getting the sack and Nick Scorton with his tackles for loss. So the defense has been good. And I think they'll only continue to get better. And then once you shore up that secondary in the back, then you'll really see kind of what they can be. Morgan?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any complaints with the defense. Obviously, they let, I think, too many yards through the air. And they knew that Fannin was their number one target and still let him kind of do whatever he wanted. But I think just coming out a little bit stronger in the second half and kind of keeping your foot on the gas defensively. But otherwise, I don't have any problems with the defense. I think you don't have to worry too much. I could be eating those words.
I will say that defensively, though, mobile quarterbacks have given them troubles. Yeah. And Taylor Green's a mobile quarterback. So this is just going to be an interesting matchup to see how they stay disciplined and try to contain Taylor Green.
Well, then the way I look at it is A&M has a mobile quarterback.
Yeah.
Arkansas has a mobile quarterback. A&M has a better defense than Arkansas, so advantage A&M. That's the way I look at it. Like if I'm going to dumb it down and make it simple.
Yeah, there you go. Play the game.
And by the way, I think Bobby Petrino is awesome, but you can see outside of that first game against Pine Bluff, it's not like Arkansas's offense is scoring 50 on everybody. Like they struggled to score against Auburn.
But they took Oklahoma State to double overtime, which
they did, but they were leading big time at the half, and then they ended up losing it. So and I'm not impressed with Oklahoma State so far. I'm just not there with them yet. But they are playing at a high level. Let's do the big three. What are the big three observations so far?
Thor.
Oh, there we go.
Theo.
I like the utilization of the tight ends and
I like that word, utilization.
Oh my gosh, my vocab
quality
this morning. It's so early.
It's an easy word, but it's quality.
Thank you so much. The Shamars.
The Shamars,
my other big three. And then, I had another. Oh, Marcus Ratcliffe having an interception in 3 games in a row.
Isn't that cool?
That is very cool. So, yeah.
And his, we thought, ended the game.
We're not going to talk about it. We're moving on from Bowling Green.
We're moving on.
It kind of did.
It kind of did.
In a way. I mean, it helped.
It could have been worse.
Yeah.
He could have not got that.
He got it, and then unfortunately they had to go back out on the field. So whatever.
My big three right now, Le'Veon Moss in that running game is very consistent. I think
Sans fumble.
Yes.
I thought we were moving on.
I thought
we just said it 5 seconds ago.
I thought we were moving on. Le'Veon Moss has been very consistent and is a great for the running back. The defensive line I just think that they have done a lot to pressure quarterbacks and make them uncomfortable. Even if you're not seeing the sack numbers that you think you should see, they're doing a great job. And then my last one would probably be Randy Bond, Mr. Automatic.
Yeah,
bouncing back after 4 for 4, bouncing back after missing one. And yeah, if you connect on all 4 of your field goals and going forward, and you're going to need that, especially hoping that the red zone offense gets better. But in those instances, you're going to need it.
Let's talk about the 2 tracks that can happen here. We got about 2 minutes left. They win. What's the trajectory? They lose. What happens? Like, not necessarily wins and losses, but because to me, this game, it's not the biggest game of the season, but I think it can be a really good jumping off point for the rest of the season.
I think it's at a pivotal point just because you have such a good Missouri team coming in. And then if you head into Texas later on with Arkansas and Missouri already taken care of, I think that's a big deal. I think getting those 2 SEC wins under your belt before harder competition is a good thing.
A win over Arkansas, and you say a good Missouri team coming in, but again, I don't know how good they are. And that looks very winnable.
Especially at home.
It's not winnable if you can't beat Arkansas, though, right?
Right. If you don't beat Arkansas, then you look back to, the last time we were at home was that Bowling Green, and Missouri's a little bit better than Bowling Green. Might be in a little bit of trouble here. You beat Arkansas, Missouri doesn't look that daunting. You got a bye week after that, coming off 2 wins.
Mississippi State after that.
That's probably easier than Bowling Green.
Here's the thing. Look, I don't know who A&M is yet, right? In the last 30 seconds of this, I don't know. but I'm not concerned with most of their opponents. Right? So A&M just needs to figure it out. If they figure it out, I think we're going to have a really special season because the opponents outside of maybe LSU, maybe Missouri, Texas, obviously,
Right.
like the rest of it, these are games that you should have. I'm going to drop it off there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to both of you.
Thank you.
The KBTX Roundtable, brought to you by KBTX. When we come back on TexAgs Live, Jordan Pugh will be joining us here on the Boss Firearms Hotline. We'll get to your text messages and more. It's TexAgs Live. One thing is guaranteed. When things are going well, I'll hear from this guy during a game. When things aren't going so well, I'll hear from him during the game because he gives it to me like in real time. I don't have to wait until Tuesday to chit-chat with Jordan Pugh on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Jordan, we're watching that game, and I think it was the third quarter when you texted me, You weren't a fan of how the things started to play out. So I'll start you off there as we start moving towards Arkansas. But just for a moment, appease me. You didn't like what you saw when they got punched in the mouth in the third quarter.
Yeah, look, so here's the deal. We had our first game where we looked like trash. That's just what I believe. Like, when I watched the entire game, we looked off on offense. We were getting out-physical on defense. I thought that our game plan was very vanilla. I thought we didn't expand upon what we did against Florida. I just think that we went into the game. You're coming off a high off the road. I think that you're coming into the Bowling Green game as a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds, kind of knowing that you can win the game, right? So that's where I think the mindset is of that team, because that's how they play. But when I look at the coaching staff, I look at what we did schematically. I look at what we did on offense, defense. I didn't see anything that was overly dynamic. And I think it put us in positions to make the game closer than what it needed to be. Now, we have better athletes than they do. We have more depth than they do. It shouldn't have been as close as what it was. So overall, I wasn't a fan of the game. Overall, wasn't a fan of the game plan. We got it done. That's the good part. But I think this is something that you can grow from, something that you can move forward from. But if you think that is anything other than a bad performance, then you're delusional, because that was not a good performance by us. We're better than that. Through the first 3 weeks, we performed better than that as a team. Overall, as a team, this is the first time, I think, as an entire group, that we didn't perform to our best.
All right, so does that make you feel better or worse about the future? Because do you feel like it's an isolated thing, they just weren't up for Bowling Green? Or do you think it's, man, this is showing who we might really be?
No, it's hard to say it's an isolated thing because you got a long season ahead of you, right? But I don't think that's who we are. I think Florida is who we are as a unit, as a team. Moving forward, I think it's just one of those deals where you just have a game versus thinker. Look at what Alabama did with UCF, for example, or USF, for example, just throwing them as a comp. Those things happen, right? Sometimes you're just not up. Sometimes you're in a fight. You're in a harder fight than what you imagine, right? And so now you're having to play. You're having to knock their hope down. I think that's what we ran into. I don't think this takes away from what we do as a team. I think it's a great way for Elko to take that and leverage it as a coaching point, leverage it as teach tape, leverage it as commitment and all-in type of vibes moving forward. But overall, I don't think it's any type of indication of who we are as a team, because we have displayed what we can do throughout the first 3 weeks. This week just wasn't up to snuff, wasn't up to the standard.
Talking to Jordan Pugh here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. So the line of scrimmage, I thought the offensive line didn't look great initially, but some of that was unfair because I know that they were stacking the box. But I do think the offensive line did get better as the game went on, and that's still with some mixing and matching of guys coming in and out of the lineup. What did you see from the line?
I thought initially at the beginning of the game, we didn't make any adjustments. We were stuck trying to run a lot of inside zone, stretch zone. And I think that Bowling Green had a great game plan for it. But then overall, our athletes and our depth took over, right? I think that you saw the better unit take over as the game went on, as they started to get tired. They couldn't rotate in the bodies like we can. I think you also saw where the injuries kind of played a little bit of a factor on the offensive line. You're still trying to get pieces in place. You're trying to get continuity, chemistry along the offensive line. But overall, that's the good thing that you could take from the game, is how you started to see the offensive line take over, how you started to see the offensive line get that push. But it's starting faster is what you want to accomplish, like we did against Florida, right? So you want to make that consistent week in and week out. So that's the positive that you take away. I think there were some things where we were trying to mix and match, still trying to get some of the chemistry, those injuries, guys, going in and out of the lineup. I think that plays a factor. But I still think it's something that you can build on. And on the flip side, it creates some depth because it allows guys to play. It allows reserves to play, but allows guys to play multiple positions as well.
Talking to Jordan Pugh. Jordan, what do you make out of how well A&M is playing first halves, right? Like, they're scoring on the first drive, they're getting points, they're having some nice leads at the half, and then in the second half, the numbers are kind of reversed.
I just think that goes to – all right, so I think that goes to game plan. Or game plan and the way we execute the game plan. So what do I mean by that? Game plan, when you see us come out, we're thriving, we're clicking on all cylinders, we're rolling, right? Those are scripted plays. Usually you're talking about offensively. But when we go into it and after we get past the first, second, or third drive, we start to get stagnant in our play calling, and we get less aggressive. We're not as aggressive as we are in the beginning stages of the game. I think if we just keep the aggressive factor, if we keep our foot on the pedal, I think you see us explode even more. That's one of the issues that we saw in Florida. If we're going to pinpoint an issue, we saw that in Florida in the second half, but we also saw that leading into the Bowling Green game, right? You didn't see the offense, you didn't see the defense put their foot on their throat. That's what you want to continue to see. You want to see the aggressive play call. You want to see them continue to push the pace and continue a dominant performance. I think sometimes you get caught up into the analytics. Sometimes you get caught up into, okay, well, this is where we are. We have this lead. Let's protect it. Let's run this clock instead of being aggressive and trying to dominate and take over the game. So I think that's one of those deals where we struggle with that. But I think that comes from coaching. I don't think it comes from players per se. I think that's the plays being called, the nature in which they're running the game. I just think that's something that we got to take over and we got to fix if we want to be dominant going into this SEC stretch run.
Jordan, maybe that's part of my issue with this past weekend, because when you look at the Florida game, A&M did exactly what they wanted to do. They said, we're going to run the ball, and you can't stop us, right?
Yep.
And while they were able to run the ball better in the second half, and I mean, the numbers were nice. I'll take 250 yards rushing, no doubt. Mm-hmm. While they were able, it just didn't feel like we're going to assert our will the entire game. And you got to give some credit to Bowling Green there, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they played them tough. Look at what Bowling Green did to Penn State. We said that last week going into the game, that they played them tough, but also at the same time, we are the more dominant team. They're the inferior team, and we need to put our will on them. Now, here's the thing I will say. I don't think that we pushed the ball downfield like we did against Florida. I don't think that we had the vertical type of threats that we wanted to, or that we are capable of, like we did against Florida. I don't think we threatened that a lot. I think this was a game where we go back to kind of like that McNeese game. Let's hold off a little bit what we want to do schematically. Let's run our base stuff. Let's get through this game and let's get ready to go and play Arkansas, right? I think that's what the mentality was. And that's one of the things where I was disappointed in, because I didn't see those downfield threats. I didn't see the movement in the pocket like we had the previous week. And that's what disappointed me. Listen, you know, I know, and this happens a lot in locker rooms and in game plans where coaches don't want to divvy up a lot of their schemes heading into big weeks or big stretch runs. But look, at the end of the day, football is football, and you got to execute the plays, but also you've got to have a mindset to be aggressive. And moving forward, if we don't have that mindset going through for the rest of the season, the rest of the SEC stretch run, that stuff can hinder us, and it can end up losing us games. So that's something that has to be fixed. That's a mentality that has to be shifted, and I think we'll be all right if we do that.
What do you think about the way Marcel looked? Because you talked about not going downfield. He missed a couple throws. I feel like the receivers, while they've been an issue this year, they weren't necessarily the issue in this past game.
Okay, so the week before, we're on the high with Marcel. And the thing that I said he looked good, but I also needed to see another game sample size. What you saw from Bowling Green was you saw a team that had tape on Marcel, right? So you saw a team that knew what he was good at. It wasn't a surprise like Florida had. You knew that he was mobile with his feet. Then you saw them shadow him with the backer, with the safety, with the nickelback. So it limited what he could do athletically from a quarterback position. Now, from the offensive game plan position, I think that it was a lot of simple concepts where they didn't open up the playbook as much against Florida. That was my issue. That's why I texted you the way I did. And I said, we're getting out coached right now, because you're looking at simple things, man, where they're just running simple smash concepts, simple mesh concepts. Bowling Green was sitting in a lot of quarter half type looks. And I think it wasn't allowing Marcel to really open up his game because we were being limited on what we were doing. So I think it's twofold. You got to give Bowling Green some credit, okay? They came out there, they played tough. They had 2 Super Bowls this year, Penn State and us, right? We're going into 100,000 plus. Hey, we're going to do our thing. But also at the same time, you got to blame us, because I don't think that we went in with the right mindset, i.e. game plan, if you want to put those two together, where we were going to be overly aggressive. And I think that's on us as a unit, as a team, as a coaching staff. And I think that's what we got to fix moving forward.
Talk about like leading up to a week. You know the caliber of opponent, the kind of install you want to have, the kind of plays you want to do. You want to keep it somewhat vanilla because you want to save some of that for the tougher games. Mid-game, can you kind of go back like, you know what, we didn't really install it this week, but we did work on this stuff in the summer and the fall as we're getting. We need to kind of go back to that bag. Can that happen?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yes, it happens all the time. There's many times where you have a game plan, that team is whooping your butt. Hey, man, scratch all this. This is what we need to do. There's a reason why you have spring practice. There's a reason why you have training camp, because you put your base stuff in, your core rules, your base assignments. Everything is built off of that. And then you have practiced everything to a certain point. You can always go back to your wheelhouse, right? So that happens all the time. And I think that's one of those deals where you kind of saw, I want to say mid-third quarter, early fourth quarter, where you saw it kind of turn the page a little bit, like you talked about with the offensive line. Hey, man, let's get back to our bag. Let's get back to our base where we know this is what we can do on a down in and down out basis. And you saw them pull the game out that way. But going back to what I said earlier, I still think this was just the factor of let's be vanilla, let's get through the game, let's get into SEC play. That's what I think this was. I don't think it was an aggressive mindset and game plan moving for this game. So I think that's what got us caught up, and we had to be able to finish out. That's where I'm happy. We showed some resilience. We fought through some adversity as a team. We were able to close the game out. That's what you love to see, but you don't want to see yourself in a position against an inferior opponent like that.
All right. Yesterday, Coach Oko talked a little bit about spying, and I thought he did a brilliant job of describing how it's not as simple as some of us think it can be. Yeah, just put that dude on the tight end. Like, just follow him all around. So I want, from a defensive player's perspective, like, what kind of goes into when you know Taylor Green likes to do this or the tight end likes to do that, like how it can kind of evolve depending on where the play goes?
It all depends. The spy and the rush or the stunt up front has to go together, right? So sometimes you may pinch. If I say pinch, that means I may crash on my D lineman inside to the nearest gap. So if I'm in the B, I may crash to the A. If I'm in the C, I may crash to the B. That allows that spy. He knows that I have to contain anything outside. If he gets outside that rush, I'm flushing with him. So a lot of that stuff has to go together, and you have to be able to mix and match stunts, fronts, different coverages, where you'll spy, who's the initial spy. All that comes together. The best example I can give of that is what everybody saw with Colorado and Baylor. All right, last play, Hail Mary play. Baylor had a guy who was an initial spy, but he was a contained player. All right, that contained player rushes inside. When Shedeur steps up, he flips out and rolls out and ends up throwing the pass. All those things go together, man, and they're a factor in everything that you do defensively. Because if you have a spy on a quarterback, that means you're taking somebody out of the box in the run game. If you have a spy on the quarterback, that means you're taking somebody out of the pass defense. So it's a lot of factors that go into it, and all those things mesh together in order to be cohesive and coordinate a good strategy against a running quarterback.
Talking to Jordan Pugh here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. When you look at Arkansas, I don't know how much film you've watched on them or highlights, but they look to be better than I expected at this point, yet they've played Auburn. They played Oklahoma State ranked, and I have my opinions about the Big 12, but hey, they're winning, so you got to give them the credit there. They're a team that scored 70-plus against Pine Bluff, but since then their offense has been inconsistent. But they do have Bobby Petrino, and I know you were high on Bobby Petrino a year ago.
Arkansas, if we win by 30-40 against Bowling Green, I would be sitting here today telling everybody that Arkansas is the trap game. That's what I would say. The reason why Arkansas is the trap game is because they have two significant pieces. They have a good running back. They have a dynamic quarterback. What do I mean? The dynamic quarterback is not a super threat in the pass game, but he is good enough in the pass game. The reason why he's good enough in the pass game is because he's a threat with his feet in the run game. At any point, he can take off and he can extend plays, i.e. why we like Marcel so much. That's the contributing factor. Arkansas plays scrappy defense. They'll create chaos within the pocket. They do a good job of that from what I've seen so far. But when you have a mobile quarterback who can get the ball downfield, when you have a mobile quarterback with a very good running back, I think the running back is underrated. When you have that, that plays a big factor in why they continue to win these games, because it opens up so much more on offense. So, you know, Petrino's there, you know what he likes to do. He likes to feed the studs, that saying, all that stuff. But the quarterback is the key factor. If we can keep him within the pocket, if we can keep him contained, if we can contain him on the outside, create chaos through the middle of the pocket, I think we have a really good chance of dominating this game. If we lose contained within that pocket, that's when the game gets choppy. It gets a little hectic on our end because now you're allowing them to have life. You're creating flow. You're creating a rhythm within the offense. And that's what you don't want to do with a quarterback like that.
So you mentioned Jaquindon Jackson, the running back. I'm going to give you his numbers on the year. 472 yards rushing in those 4 games, 8 touchdowns. And he scored 2 touchdowns last week against Auburn. That's the kind of numbers he's putting up.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. But that also helps when you have a dynamic quarterback. When you have a guy who touches the ball every play, who can make plays on the feet, it opens up the run game as well, i.e. you saw that with us in Florida.
Right.
All right? So that's why, like I said before, man, I think this game, if we're going to flip it into a positive, it wakes us up. All right, man, we weren't on our stuff. We weren't on our P's and Q's. We're going into an SEC opponent. We got to get our stuff together, right? If on the flip side, if we go out and we blow out Bowling Green, hey, man, this is the trap. Don't get caught in the trap. Right. So either way, I think it works for us. At the end of the day, what we have a dynamic front. We have a dominant front on the D line. That's going to be able to neutralize a lot of things. That opens up a lot more of what you can do, in the pass game on defense, but also mix and matching schemes like Elko's been doing. I think now you're really going to be able to see that unfold this week, man, with what we do and how we can distribute athletes on the field that will be able to contain a dynamic duo in the backfield like they have.
All right, Jordan, I'm going to make a simple question for you. You look at A&M's schedule the rest of the way. I know we still don't know who A&M is, right? I think we're still trying to figure out who they are.
Yeah.
But, man, I look at that schedule, and I'm not really worried. Well, let me rephrase that. A&M can, and they could before the season started, but now that I've seen these teams play, they can beat all these teams, man. And you know what I'm saying? Like, so this game, to me, kind of sets you down that path. If you lose it, then you're like, I don't know what games you're going to win. If you win it, not that Arkansas is this big beater, but that being said, it sets up that matchup with Missouri, who's going to be coming off a bye week, who's undefeated. Like, it sets you up for a lot of the things we talked about in the preseason.
This game comes down to, I think you said it, who A&M is. You got to find out who we are. What is our identity? We don't know what our identity is because we had a quarterback go down. All right. So now the reason why that's significant is because the quarterbacks are 2 different type of people. Okay. You have a dynamic athlete. You have a good athlete. You have a better pocket passer. You have a better mobile passer. Right. Then you're looking at our run game. Our run game has been building. Okay. You look at McNeese to Florida, kind of a lackluster at the beginning of the Bowling Green. We finished strong. Okay. The question is, what is the identity going to be? And then who are we going to roll with moving forward to finish the season out? Because I think if you choosing between Marcel and choosing between Connor, you're choosing 2 different styles of offense and 2 different styles of play calling, right? So I think that's where Elko, Klein, and those guys have got to figure out what gives us the best opportunity for wins and success moving forward. This game can set that path. Like you said, every game is winnable moving forward in SEC play. You know, even with the matchup going into Texas, I know Texas is getting all the hype this week. I am not sold on Texas. I do not see what everybody else sees right now. And so I think there's a way that you could take a chokehold on this. You know what I mean? Not having Bama, not having Georgia. We don't play Ole Miss, correct?
Nope.
Is that right? I'm going to make sure. Yep. So there's an opportunity, man, that you can really steal this. And so being able to go into this game this week, man, knowing what's ahead of you, I think there's a real opportunity to take advantage of the seeding and take advantage of the SEC with what we have. We have the bodies. We are capable. The athletes are there. Now it's time to put it all together, man, and go on the stretch run.
You think they open up the playbook this weekend?
They better. Because I bet you Petrino will, hands down. You're going to see the 4 birds. You're going to see dagger type concepts. You're going to see threats that they haven't seen before all year, and a lot of movement within that offense. We have that same capability. We have the offensive coordinator who can do that. Now it's time for us to let it go, let it loose, and let's take over this thing.
Jordan, great job, man. Talk to you next week.
All right, let's do it.
Later, man. Jordan Pugh, keeping it real here on TexAgs Live. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with the Association of Former Students. After that, Clint Stoerner, former quarterback at Arkansas, played for the Cowboys, talk show host in Houston. He will join the program as well to give a little perspective on Arkansas. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. You can find them Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. They have a great selection of commercial vehicles with service body trucks, flatbed trucks, several medium-duty trucks for those heavier jobs. They do have complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers. So when you are in the need to get your car serviced, call them up. They'll take care of you. And they'll also take care of all your oil changes for life of the purchase of your Caldwell Country Chevrolet vehicle, as long as you own that Caldwell Country Chevrolet vehicle. They're a proud supporter of Aggie athletics because they love everything Aggie related, right? That's why they have Aggie alumni who lead the charge over there. They will just make the short drive to Caldwell. We're talking a short drive because when you get there, you're going to see the small town feel, but the best pricing out there. 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the good people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. And we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Time to go around the association. Jason Wisnant is joining us here as Director of Communications, and Lindsay Mitchell, Class of 23, coordinating of young alumni. Hello, friends.
Hello. Howdy.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
You good?
It's great. Great Tuesday.
Hey, so let's start things off with the 2024 Distinguished Alumni Gala that's coming up here. And I think, it came up on September the 20th, is that right?
This last Friday.
This last Friday, okay.
That's right.
Talk a little bit about it and some of the names that we got to see and hear from.
Oh, the heavy hitters, amazing former students. It's an event that highlights, so every year we sponsor with the Texas A&M University the naming of these distinguished alumnus. There's 12 of them. And the gala, it all culminates with the gala at Reed Arena. It's a time for us to be able to celebrate their achievements and what they've done. People like Kent Moore, Dr. John Adams, Chet Edwards, just everybody that's listed and has been given this designation is worthy of that distinction. They've impacted Texas A&M University. They've impacted society, business. We had about 850 folks come out for the gala. It was awesome. And it was just a wonderful time to celebrate their achievements.
And how do people get nominated? How does that whole process happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are always searching for more nominations. Our board of directors for the association has come up with some guidelines to make it easier so that everybody can nominate. So you can go to aggienetwork.com. We have a shortened link. I can get that to you guys later. We can post, but we want to make it as easy as possible. We want everybody to be able to nominate deserving Aggies for this distinction. It's the highest honor bestowed upon a former student. So we want more names.
I want to keep it there with you, Jason, for a moment. Aggie Park, which is, I remember watching it being built and walking out there and enjoying it. You guys are adding a digital feature as well.
We are, and so part of that is our storytelling. So there's a lot of stories out there, and for those Aggies, they realize there's a lot of stories we don't tell. And so one of the things we've tried to do is tell those stories through Texas Aggie Magazine, through an online immersive experience. We have the history of silver taps, rivalry returns, the impact, the power of the Aggie ring. This next one, though, is going to be the story of Aggie Park, which a lot of people don't know. And so it talks about a lot of the hidden features across the space and how it was developed by the association through fundraising. And talks about wood stage, plank bridge, the Moore Family Creamery, but also the thing we're most excited about is this, the next phase, which is going to be a new building that's going to serve the student body. So we're super excited about that. You can read that story when it comes out at aggienetwork.com, including all of our other stories. So
you get to see it every day, but how cool was it to see it on game day, just kind of featured and just in front of the world?
It is amazing. And in fact, it's funny you say that. I think the game day crew, if I'm not mistaken, had told my colleague Randy Reyes, class of 01, that they said that was one of the coolest spaces they've ever seen for an ESPN game day, which is amazing. And that was our goal, the association's goal of gifting that to the Aggie Network, for it to be a gift for Aggies to enjoy for generations.
Lindsay, let's talk about a couple Saturdays from now, the Young Alumni Kickback.
Yes, Young Alumni Kickback. So we're calling on all 2013 to 2024 class years to come join us at the association for a pregame tailgate before we beat the heck out of Missouri. And it's going to be a really good fun event.
There's going to be some good food here. All you can eat, fuego tacos, beverages. And how much are tickets?
Tickets are $30. So everything that comes with that $30 ticket is all you can eat fuego tacos. And we're going to give a shout out to Christian Distributing for beers and seltzers. And my personal favorites, we will be having Aggie Lemonade. But do you want to ask them about Aggie Lemonade?
Tell me more about Aggie Lemonade.
Aggie Lemonade has been at so many of our events.
Is this a non-alcoholic lemonade?
So it is alcoholic beverage.
Okay.
So I will be drinking after hours, not on the clock.
Understood.
But I mean, I've been hearing so much about it. It seems like it's a great drink. People are very excited about it. It's one of our popular ones. So if you haven't tried it yet, you got to come to Young Alumni Kickback to try it.
So you go to the website tx.ag/YA Kickback 24. That is YA Kickback 24. Jason, I know we always talk about, how the team is always expanding. Let's kind of get to there, because there are some openings out there and some opportunities.
Absolutely. We do have openings at the association. We're looking for service-minded people, people that love Texas A&M University, love Texas Aggies. If you're one of those people, please apply. You can go to tx.ag/association jobs. We have entry-level positions, more professional positions, student worker positions. It's truly getting to work with people like Lindsay. We just have such an incredibly supportive team, and it's an amazing mission too, to serve Texas A&M and Texas Aggies.
Jason and Lindsay, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. When we come back on TexAgs Live, Clint Stoerner, the former Arkansas quarterback, will join us. Talk a little bit about A&M and Arkansas there from Jerry World. That and more. It's TexAgs Live. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is hour number 3. Should have Clint Stoerner on the show here momentarily. Talk about Bird Dog for a moment. Aggie owned and operated company creating access to hunting opportunities, and they've done so with some cool things. There's like an Airbnb for hunting. Streamlined booking process, making finding booking hunts transparent and easy. So if you are a seasoned hunter or trying to get into it, like I'm trying to get into it, let them take care of you. Jonathan Less, former Yale leader at A&M, he started this company with a cool idea, and it's just kind of blown up. They've got 60 ranches that they're partners with all around the world, Mexico, Africa, the United States, Texas, Louisiana, Florida, you name it. They're taking great care of people. If you are looking to get some ranch consulting, they can take care of that as well to help you get some money for your ranch. Think about making some memories by going hunting and reach out to the good people there at Bird Dog. The website is Bird Dog It. Again, that is Bird Dog It. Check them out. I want to read this, and we'll talk about it, and then we'll go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. KGB77 on the TexAgs chat says, why would we not compare Reed's performance with BG's quarterback performance, a QB with lots of experience? I think Reed compares pretty well. I don't know how to answer that question. Why wouldn't we compare them? Okay, we can compare them. The reason I compare him to Taylon Green is because the games are similar. Yes, I expect for Marcel Reed when he's a 5th or 6th year starter to potentially be better, right? Or 5th year player, 6th year player. But the comparison to me is not with the opposing quarterback, it's with what the defense is doing. Do you want to outduel Taylon Green? Absolutely, right? Of course you do. You want to have a better game than the opposing quarterback. But when we talk about Marcel's game, I think there's a lot can be true. One thing that can be true about it is that his legs were a difference maker. Another thing is he's improving. Another thing is there's more film on him now, so teams can kind of game plan for what he does well and try to put him in some vulnerable positions. Connor Bazelak had a nice game against A&M in the second half, no doubt. But all that being said, you don't necessarily compare the two quarterbacks, but maybe you do. Let's get a quarterback's perspective on this. Boss Firearms Hotline we go, and that's where we find Clint Stoerner, a good friend of the show. Clint, good morning, buddy. Well, good, man. So I had a text come in on the show just trying to compare what A&M saw quarterback-wise from Marcel Reed to Connor Bazelak of Bowling Green. And I don't know, do quarterbacks, when you guys are talking about comparing with the other team, is it more of how you did against the defense or how the other quarterback in you performed?
Try to stay away from that unless there's a reason to go there, right? I mean, if they're two very similar quarterbacks and we're literally comparing those two quarterbacks and, where does one rank and what's one, how high is one ceiling versus the other? I think that is where I lean into, the competition and performance and box score and all that. I tell you what, I tried, especially with these young guys that we're talking about right now, with y'all's guy Reed and our guy Green. Boy, it's really early to be trying to put to try to hit a bullseye with either one of these guys.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. What have you seen from Taylon Green so far? What do you like? What are you concerned about? And maybe from your few minutes of watching a little A&M, anything that jumps out about Marcel Reed?
Well, let me start with Reed, man. I really, really like Reed. I like the upside with him. Again, none of us, even for those that study the film, have seen enough to know, what the heck he's going to be able to do at A&M. Look, there are some big-time expectations there, as there should be. But, boy, you talk about a guy that is a legit dual threat. A lot of times in our world, we throw around dual threat just because the guy maybe put up some numbers in a box score or just because the guy has the ability to move a little bit. But the reality is you've got to have a combination of speed and twitch and explosiveness and a great feel for the game to be a true dual threat guy and be able to play that way and not get injured. And it sure seems like it's early, but it sure seems like Reed has that. And when you couple it with him, the old quarterback in me, I've trained 1,000 quarterbacks. I love talking mechanics and techniques. And boy, when you see a guy that's just got it, there's some things he needs to work on, no doubt about it. But when you talk about feel in the pocket, being able to, they call them micro movements nowadays in the pocket. It's easy for a guy like him to just want to jump and go and just take off because he can.
But boy, he also has the ability to just move 6 inches or move 1 yard and find a little bit of space. The touchdown he threw over the middle against Bowling Green last week was a perfect example of that. And he has got a legit whip, man. He spins it naturally. It's powerful. Now we'll see if he can process at a high enough level to put up big numbers at A&M for 2 or 3 years. But boy, I really like Reed. When it comes to Taylor Green, there's a lot to like. And there's what I would say is the scariest thing about calling plays or coaching quarterbacks is the inconsistency. If you watch him this year, he has missed 5 throw-in-the-ocean touchdowns in 4 games. Really, he did that in 3 games because he didn't do it last week. And it's inexplainable, bro. It's like you can't explain why you miss those kind of throws. But for 99% of the time against Oklahoma State, he was tremendous. For 100% of the time against Auburn, the 2 biggest games this year, he was tremendous. So it's what Taylor Green shows up this week in Dallas against A&M. That's the question. If it's the good one, y'all gonna have y'all's hands full. If it's the one that's got some real suspect accuracy issues, then A&M will run away with this thing.
Talking to Clint Stoerner here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Clint, tell me if this is right. Like, there's a lot of season left, and it's really about to get hard for Arkansas. But I feel like Sam Pittman was a coach that I thought maybe could potentially lose his job early on in the season based on the schedule, the early part. So I feel like things are better than maybe what was expected from me. Do you feel the same way with at least the way the trajectory feels as of today?
Oh, I think the trajectory is the operative word there, right? You're absolutely hitting the nail on the head. I mean, Sam Pittman's in a better spot. You're sitting at 3-1. We would have paid good money to be sitting at 3-1 after 4 games if somebody would have said that, would have sold us that early in the season before it started. And the truth of the matter is, for real football folks, if you watch this football team, they are light years better than what Arkansas was last year. Arkansas was a disaster. You want to talk about leadership. You want to talk about accountability. You want to talk about 11 guys playing together. They were all major issues at Arkansas last year. And so, yes, Sam Pittman was and quite frankly is on the hot seat, but the team is trending in the right direction. This is a much, much better football team as a whole. They're much closer. The leadership is significantly better. And look, the offensive system now with Bobby Petrino, which you guys know all too well, is much better than it was with Dan Enos and KJ Jefferson last year. So, yeah, there's no doubt that they're trending in the right direction. Sam Pittman's job is safer today than it was a month ago. But as you said, there's a lot of football left to be played. And the reality of it is, I don't know that Oak State is as good as they were projected to be. And I don't know that Auburn is going to win very many games this year, if we're being honest. So he's got a lot of work ahead of him that he's got to take care of. Sam Pittman, that is.
So help me understand the offense, too, because I look at the offense. Obviously, I love what Jaquindon Jackson's doing. But you score 70 against Pine Bluff. And then since then, it's been like really good offense for a little bit, but not an entire game. So what have you seen from the offense? How good is this Arkansas offense?
Well, look, it's good if Taylor Green can get outside the pocket and scramble. It's really good if last week against Auburn, Bobby Petrino seemed to lean into the quarterback read run game, put it in the belly of the running back, and if the defensive end crashes and the quarterback keeps it off the end, if not, then hand it to Jaquindon Jackson. If you can do those things, then it's really, really good. My fear moving forward for this offense, I think, look, big picture, Bobby Petrino is figuring out the strengths and weaknesses of Taylor Green, and they're getting better week in, week out. Taylor's getting better week in, week out, as you would expect a junior quarterback to do in a system. But the reality of it is if you can stop the run, both the quarterback run and Jaquindon Jackson, which isn't as easy as one might think because they're really good this year. But if you can stop the run and keep Taylor in the pocket and force him to throw the football into 7-man coverages, force him to throw the football in from the pocket, don't let him get out and get loose and get down the sideline for 25 yards or on 3rd and 14 kind of deal. If you can corral him and force him to throw the football on time and in rhythm to beat you, force them to go 11 or 12 plays consistently, keep everything in front of you. I know it's old school football, but to me, that's what scares me the most with Green is a team that has the ability to do that. Now, I don't know that we faced a team yet again, Auburn, Oak State being the two teams. I don't know that we faced either one of those teams that had the ability to kind of corral him like A&M, I believe, could potentially have. I think his athletic ability does transition to the big boys. I think you're going to see him get loose against A&M. You're going to see him get loose against the Alabamas. I think it does transition. He's that good. He's got a real Matt Jones vibe to him. But the question is, does he do it, on 3rd and 10 plus? Does he do it 5 times for first downs? That's the key with him, and I don't know that he's going to be able to do that against better talent like A&M. So we'll see on Saturday.
Clint, I'd love to get your take on Hugh Freeze, not only the comments about his own quarterbacks and throwing them under the bus, but also yesterday saying, with all due respect to Sam Pittman, I think if we play Arkansas 10 times, we beat them 9. Just the way he handles it, being a former quarterback, what you want your coach to basically be telling you in your ear, especially to the media.
Yeah, I think it was all Bush League. I like Hugh Freeze, to be honest with you, but I think that's all Bush League, especially for a guy that, you guys study it more than I do. I've got a lot on my plate with the Texans and the NFL and all that stuff on a daily basis. But the Hugh Freeze seems to have a ton of stability. He seems to have a really long leash. You hear things in the media like, hey, he's rat-holing NIL money and building these 2 classes that he's going to recruit so that he can then supplement with millions of dollars that he's going to stockpile over 2 or 3 years. And it seems like a long-term plan. So the guy it seems like he has a long leash. And if that is the case, to then go in there and bash your quarterbacks publicly, to do this whole quarterback rotation thing in and out, consistently, it is, to me, it's Bush League. To me, it's for a guy that's as well-decorated, well-accomplished as Hugh Freeze. He knows that he's not going to get the best out of any of those quarterbacks talking about them in the media that way. They're going to be looking over their shoulder. They're going to be shaking in their boots. They're going to be scared to make mistakes, and that's a bad place to be entering SEC play. And then you look on the flip side, the whole conversation about Arkansas is like, how many teams lose on Saturday and then go, well, if I had a better quarterback, we could have won that game. I would say every team that plays an opponent within a touchdown could say, well, if my quarterback was better, man, we would have won that game. I think it's just Bush League that he said those things about his quarterback. And when I actually heard the stuff about Arkansas this morning, I think it's Bush League. I think it's disrespectful to Sam Pittman, and that's probably why he mentioned Sam Pittman in the process of being disrespectful. But I think it's a joke. I think it's a low blow. Have a look for Hugh Freeze.
Hey, last thing for you. Talk to me about the Arkansas defense. What have you seen from them this year?
Downhill, man. Downhill, aggressive, in your face, fast. They're going to turn it over. They're going to get tackles for loss, and they're just going to live with, hey, they're going to get us every now and then. Every now and then they're going to get us for a big play, and it's going to happen. Now, I say that's their style. That's just, they are in your face. I'm going to punch you in the mouth before you get a chance to even think about punching me kind of deal. And I love that style. And I'm one that says if you're going to play that style, then, hey, make them throw the low percentage ball over the top, make the quarterback scramble and make a highlight reel type play to hurt you. The problem with Arkansas has been that they have been absolutely gashed. They go from suffocating folks. They go from looking like a top defense in the country to chasing from behind all of a sudden. Now this week, luckily, they got a bunch of turnovers on some of those plays that they were chasing from behind. But they've got to limit the explosives. If they can limit the explosives, then Arkansas will be in this game because they are going to play downhill. They're going to cause problems for Reed. There's no doubt about it. They're going to hit him a lot. They're going to make him feel it and see if he can make more mistakes than they give up explosive plays. Here's the key. They play a lot of DBs, man. They play a lot of DBs, and rightfully so. Their defensive backs are really, really good. Their instincts are tremendous. They got great ball skills, and those guys can cause problems. But like I said, there's going to be plenty of opportunity for Reed and this A&M skill group to have super explosive plays, probably for 4 quarters because they hadn't slowed anybody down yet.
Hey, buddy, I'll make this short. Texans last week, not indicative of who they really are, or maybe something to look out for?
That's the question, David. That we don't know. Everybody keeps talking about making some corrections and getting back to who we are, back to who you were. You played 3 games this year, and now knowing the first 2 opponents in the Colts and the Bears, that y'all barely snuck by those 2 teams when they played like trash. and now you went and got embarrassed by Minnesota. And so when you keep talking about, well, we're going to get back to who we were, you must be talking about last year, CJ. You must be talking about last year, D'Amico, because this year, this offense has quite frankly been, I'd say, C+, B- at best. The defense was problematic week one and got the doors blown off of them by a balanced offense last week. And so I can't answer that question fairly or accurately right now, David. We don't know who the Texans are. One thing I'll tell you they are, I'm comfortable in saying right now, is they were big time overrated this season, talking about being a top 3 or 4 team in the AFC.
Clint, great job, man. I appreciate your time. Best of luck to you. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother. Y'all be good and go Hogs.
You got it, man. Well, gig 'em. That's what I say to that. Thanks, buddy. Take care. Appreciate you too, man. Appreciate Clint Stoerner here on the show. It's funny. He goes, go Hog. Oh, yeah. You know, go muscle memory. And you're like, no, go Hogs. How about this? Smash those Hogs. What would Olin say?
Probably something like that.
Eat those Hogs.
Yeah, cook.
We're going hog hunting.
We're going hog hunting. We're going to go to Arkansas. And, all right, never mind. I was about to be Howard Dean there on the show. Rollo Insurance time. We love Rollo Insurance. Jason Jackson. Hey, guys. Morgan. I got to call Morgan up, by the way. I got a question for him. Because the boys are 16. My boys, my sons. But they're going to be, like, driving, like, soon. So I got to, like, they're, like, doing permit driving because I'm late. That doesn't matter to the audience. That being said, I got to call Morgan. He'll take care of me. He always does. And Rollo will take care of you. They've got 60 offices in Texas, but you know their headquarters is on Highway 6 right here in College Station. But if you're listening to this show, you probably got a Rollo Insurance close by. Dallas office, Houston office, San Antonio, Austin, Central Texas, West Texas. They are the place to take care of you when it comes to your homeowner's insurance, your car owner's insurance, your farmer's insurance, your business insurance, your hobby farmers, whatever it may be. Let them take care of you. The best customer service, the best pricing, and they're going to make sure that you are in the right insurance situation that you need to be in. The difference is real with Rollo Insurance. 888-44-ROLLO. Go to RolloInsurance.com. That's 888-44-ROLLO, RolloInsurance.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. It's time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We'll hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. Not really sure how much time we have left. Nick, can you tell the people what is going to happen on 93.7 tomorrow?
Yeah, just a quick note from our boy Louie, just giving us a heads up. I guess BTU doing something in terms of maintenance or whatever. So tomorrow, during our show, if you usually listen on 93.7 FM, you're not going to get us. It'll be back. Don't worry. Everything will be fine. Just tune to 11:50 a.m. Check us out on YouTube, whatever you need to do. Or you can go to radioaggieland.com, tell Alexa, play Zone 1150, all that fun stuff. But again, it should be back to normal Thursday. So just a little disruption on the FM station is all.
You sounded like a radio spot there. That was really good. Like you had the copy in front of you. Good job.
We got 5 seconds, bro.
5, 4, 3. See you mañana.